The medical officer explains that buildings treated with DDT remain effective against mosquitoes for about 3 months. The Africans at first are not very impressed. Some are afraid that the DDT will poison them, while others suspect some sort of witchcraft. The entomologist calls for a bowl of porridge. This is sprayed with the solution in full view of the audience. He now eats several spoonfuls of the mixture to show that the contaminated food is harmless. Even this fails to convince the audience. Arab Kipkoy is the chief spokesman and states his objections with eloquence. He says that the new medicine is a bad poison that may exterminate the whole tribe.
We're back with a new study linking breast cancer to a pesticide that was once very common. DDT was used throughout the United States until it was banned in 1972. Although it hasn't been used in this country in more than 4 decades, new research shows that exposure, even from a long time ago, could be a contributing factor in the development of breast cancer. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson.
DDT, once hailed as the miracle pesticide.
Today's target for this B-25 is Rockford, Illinois. A peacetime mission to spread 500 gallons of DDT.
Liberally sprayed on crops, trees, even inside houses in the 50s and 60s, DDT has long been a suspect in the risk of breast cancer. A connection scientists have been unable to make convincingly until now. A new study shows that the daughters of pregnant women with high levels of DDT in their blood were 4 times more likely to get breast cancer.
Exposure to the pesticide DDT may increase elderly people's risk of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers found levels of DDE were 4 times higher in Alzheimer's patients compared to people who did not have the memory-robbing disease. DDE is a chemical compound left when DDT breaks down. The United States banned DDT in the 70s, but other countries we import food from still use it.
You know, if you look at Alzheimer's and you look up the root cause of it, it's always unknown. It could be genetics, we're still researching, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a new study that shows that links DDT to Alzheimer's. I mean, it's a significant correlation here. So that's fascinating. I use a principle in my office that seems to work. And that is that you always want to look for the obvious thing. And it's usually the obvious thing that it's like one of those, oh, of course, duh, why didn't I think of that?
Okay, I've got 2 eggs here. This egg is a normal chicken egg. You can see it's a pretty normal egg. You could crack it if you wanted, but it's pretty tough. This egg is an egg that simulates what happens when an eagle lays an egg if the eagle has lots and lots of DDT in its body tissues. Now, if you look at this egg, when I tap it, it's not making any noise, and look what happens when I poke it. It has a shell, but the shell is very, very thin. This is an example of what an egg is like if it's laid by an eagle that has lots of DDT in its body tissues.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Wednesday night for Infinite Talk with our special guest, Eric July, aka YoungRippa. I'm so excited. Hello.
Hey, I appreciate you guys certainly having me on. This should be fun. Again, thank you so much.
Of course. Oh my goodness. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you're a very busy guy. Just wonderful stuff on your channel, which, by the way, everything that Eric does, his website, all of his like links for YouTube, social media, all that stuff is in the description. So if you don't know him, make sure you're subscribed. He's amazing. Of course, we also have here Mr. John Talks. Hi, how are you?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. We got Eric July here. Subscribe. All right. Subscribe to his freaking channel. I'm telling you, do it. Do it. If you like us, you're going to love him.
John's links are also in the description because he is my co-host and I love him very much. And he was just doing a live stream, which I didn't even know about because YouTube didn't give me any notifications that you were live. That you had 1 million views or something. Yay!
Yeah. No, I had 100. I reached 100 million total views.
Yeah.
Damn. I was like, oh, I'll check that out, and I actually crossed it. So, yeah, it feels good.
Is that like including like all your entertainment stuff from before? And
yeah,
then, like,
yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, congratulations, John.
Thanks.
Like, your channel's just been rocking it. So hopefully to infinity and beyond. Yay.
Yeah, hopefully if YouTube, doesn't guillotine me, yeah, we'll be good.
Well, actually, speaking of that, Eric July is also like YouTube's most wanted man kind of thing. Like we're all very we're naughty people. We talk about things we're not supposed to talk about. Like even tonight's show, I'm so nervous about some of the stuff we're going to be talking about because I'm like, okay, I gotta word it like this and say this like this. So off the bat, Mama YouTube, all of the people here are not medical experts. We are not doctors, and we recommend that you speak with your doctor or medical health professional if you're going to do anything with regards to COVID-19 or anything like that. Anything, discuss it with your doctor. Having said that, we do have opinions about what's going on in the world, especially with regards to mandates and FDA approvals for kids and all those kind of things. So we're going to be discussing a lot of those kind of things tonight. Eric, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't even know that I was a libertarian before I found your channel. So that was one of the things that I figured out because originally I was like a liberal, and I went conservative when Trump started running, and I was like, Hillary Clinton, ugh, no, I'm not interested in any of that. So I but I wasn't really into Trump either because Trump is like, ugh. But then I realized through studying and getting to know myself and everything like that I'm a libertarian because I don't lean either way, and I'm also about decentralization. So I don't want a big government telling me what to do all the time and things like that. So tell everybody like kind of like who you are, what your channel's about, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my channel has gone through its series of, I don't even want to call it rebrands. It's more so it just followed what I was doing. I've been on YouTube since I was 16 years old. So that's like 2006 ish when I first started. And, it was this cool little platform. It was just getting off the ground that you could go and just upload stuff to. And, as I grew, definitely, be it intellectually, politically, or ideologically, rather, so did the channel. And it changed to kind of morph into basically that, to where it just became basically a hub for everything me. And now I'm in a great position where I get to wake up and, whatever I feel like talking about that day, I can talk about it. It doesn't matter if it's political related, entertainment, comic books, doesn't matter. I get to do that because we've now established that it's basically everything a hub for me. But obviously most people, or a lot of them, have come to the talk for the reasons that you just mentioned. And speaking about the current events and how it pertains to liberty and how it really impacts us, and trying to word it in a way that just the common man can understand. That's what I've always prided myself in. I know that I'm rough around the edges. I don't apologize for that, but that's because that's not only who I am. It's just there's a big sector of people that respond better to hearing it that way anyway.
Yeah.
I respond better to hearing it that way. And from someone who gives it to me in that way. So I just wanted to, I might be very knowledgeable. All of these, I know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. People that have watched my debates and disputes that I've had with people, they understand that. I'm not some rookie to this. However, I still keep everything contained in terms of the language, for example, that I use as a regular person would use. No jargon, any of that. And the channel kind of exploded because of that. And I obviously appreciate that. There's so many people that it lets me know, and it's reassuring that it is working when I hear your story, because it's a similar story that I've heard from a lot of other people. And that is that, okay, I've heard the term, didn't really know what it was, all of those things, until they kind of heard me word it that way. And that's what I've always prided myself in doing. That's why I do what it is that I do with the music stuff. With the band and everything like this, the specific reason as to why I do it, because I know that is a ripe community of people that would love to hear it, and they need to hear it, and maybe they've never heard it in a way that they can digest it. And that's what I pride myself in, not just with the channel, but really with everything it is that I'm doing, regarding if you want to say it's political, anti-political, whatever you want to call it, whatever that is. That's what it's about. It's about trying to get the common man, breaking it down for the common people to understand, so that they can digest it, and how they implement that in their own individual lives is certainly up to them. And it's also cool to see how how that manifests in other people that have been influenced in any sort of way. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's about the message more than anything.
Absolutely. And you're also, the other thing about you that I love is that you're not just being like someone who's complaining about everything. Like, you're not like, oh, like DC sucks, Marvel sucks, everything sucks, this, that. You're like, you know what? Everything does suck. So I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
So you're doing something about it. Tell everybody what you're doing to battle this crazy bullshit that's going on with the comic industry.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the blessing of living multiple basically careers in a short period of time, and being basically successful in like music of multiple genres, and doing what I do with the commentary stuff, and the little sports career that I had early on in my life. I was just doing so much stuff. And this to me is going to be my biggest ambition for sure. And what I am attempting to do is obviously I'm starting my own comic book company to be a part of the solution. As you mentioned, because DC and Marvel they don't offer anything really for me anymore.
Me either.
But yeah, and as well as just a multitude of other people. And that doesn't mean that the people don't want those sort of American style comics, because we know that manga has replaced that well for a lot of people. But there's still something unique about the American comic book or Western comic book culture,
of course,
and all of that. And it's still a demand for that. It's not being given to them. And I've said, in the way that I've worded this, is that my direct competition is not right now with people that may do an alternative comic book that obviously isn't attached to Marvel or DC, and it may be based on a couple of characters or whatever, more one character in particular. That's not my competition. My competition is with these guys that own my wall back there, and they have these extravagant universes that may have taken decades to build upon. I mean, we live in an information age now, so that process is sped up now that we can get it to the people whenever we want. But that's my direct competition. People that are interested in that stuff, where canon matters, continuity matters. There's not these needless retcons, or if I use a retcon, I'd rather use it in a traditional sense, where you're just actually introducing new material, as opposed to just changing something, and to the point to where as it stands right now with Marvel and DC, they're just brands. Right. They're like the Batman is just a brand now. Superman is just a brand now. It's like who those characters are, who Bruce Wayne is, who Kal-El is. It's whoever they want it to be, whoever the new director is, maybe for the movie. It means anything anymore, because it's more about merchandise and brand selling. And I'm trying to build a company that is centered around people that, you know, grew up on this stuff just like I did. Well, the stories mattered more than anything. No tokenization or anything. Just straight stories. All of that is what we're focusing on. And I'm trying to be as ambitious as I possibly can, spending, I mean, talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars to make this happen. So the idea here is speed this up. Going into December, hopefully we can have it announced by the end of that month. That this will be, because how it'll work, it will be an 8 characters book. Other characters will be introduced into that. It'll be almost 100 pages. So you're getting a very meaty book.
Wow.
That will introduce the world universe at large, as well as this one of these main characters and some other guys. This is why you're going to want to read it, because it'll serve as a launching pad for the entire universe it is that we're trying to build. So hopefully we go into that. We haven't worked on right now, haven't announced who's going to be a part of their first book. Just know that they're former Marvel and DC guys, one of which actually, ironically enough, made the news round. So you can kind of try to use your context clues there as far as who's a part of it. But we do have some former DC guys doing the pencil ink work, as well as some of the color work. And yeah, it's gonna be legit. I'm not.
That's gonna be amazing, Eric. I can't
awesome.
wait. That's awesome. And also, is it gonna be so? Like, are you gonna make the clown realm? Are you actually gonna? Are you gonna do it?
I mean, there will be some certainly. Look, I have said that I'm not gonna make it like to where it's just like, okay, and cap Libertarian the comic. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, I don't want to do that. I want anybody to be able to digest it. But of course, you're going to be able to, if people that know me are going to be able to pick up on maybe a storyline, something that's like, oh, that's certainly coming from, and that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Being more subtle with that kind of stuff anyway. So certainly, I mean, looking at the world and how it is today, there's no shortage of influence.
No, just to give you context, John, because I was watching Young Rippa's video earlier, and he was talking about this comic book launch and everything. And well, actually, it was another video you were talking about the FDA situation, and you called it Clown Realm instead of like Clown World, and I thought it was amazing, because that's kind of like what, like, it goes in line with the DC and the Marvel, like, the different realities and whatever. And it's not just that we're in a clown world, we're in clown realm. Like, this is like literally the dimension.
Yeah, we're in a new
clowns.
dimension right at this point. We're not in the same place. We're in a completely different dimension now, because nothing makes any sense.
Nothing at all makes any sense. And let me just quickly get into some of these super chats that came in earlier, and then we're going to get into the clown world. America the Free, thank you so much for the $5. Says, more cowbell. Let's go Biden. I think he meant Brandon.
Gotta have it, baby. I gotta. Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, he corrected himself, saying, let's go, Brandon. Thank you so much for that, America the Free. He also sends another $20 saying, sorry, I've missed you, Nina. Love you too, man. Thank you so much for the support. I'm so glad you're here. This is the night to be here. I mean, Eric July is here. I'm fangirling. Don't mind me. And then we had Nate D saying, mandates are tyranny, taxation is theft.
Amen.
There you go. He's speaking your language for sure. I agree. Taxation is theft.
Oh, man.
I'm definitely not down with the taxes. The roads,
especially when you start paying your own taxes.
Yeah,
like,
that's when you really feel it.
Yeah, it's like, oh man.
Well, those guys, I mean, if you ain't, definitely for people that are starting to be like more self-employed and stuff, and you actually, it's less about someone else taking the money off the top. And you paying your taxes come up when you have to like pay them throughout the year, you really start feeling like theft then, because you see how much they take out or how much they expect.
Exactly. And like, for example, when I was in Canada, because they have such high taxes in Canada, especially where I was in BC, like,
socialism's great, Nina.
God, you're killing me. It was fucked up. And I would get a paycheck of like $3,500, and then I would have like literally like maybe 2,500, sometimes way less, and I'll be like, what is this? Like, who is taking my money? And it's like all these taxes, and like, we're giving it to this and we're giving it to that, and I'm like, just give me my money. Like, I don't care. Really. Like, no. We got Gabriel's here saying for $1.99, Eric, I know what you're doing. Ha 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 ha.
Gabe, what's up? How you doing?
I'm sure that's an inside joke, but
yes, it is.
Welcome to the channel. Welcome. We got Jeremiah here. Thank you so much for the $5. Says, as I got to know the true evil spirit on earth, I've had no choice but to have faith in God and pray my 11-year-old son makes it through this insanity. That's a lot of people right now, Jeremiah. You're not alone. I, for one, am kind of thanking God I don't have kids right now. I know that's a really weird thing to say, but I feel for you. You're not alone. A lot. I mean, we're all kind of thinking that kind of thing. I think at this point, with what's going on with like not just even COVID, like you got CRT, you got just like everything is just one thing on top of the other, and you know, you got like schools being or parents being called domestic terrorists if they're going to go complain about what's going on. And did you catch Ted Cruz's video today, Eric and John?
Even though I'm out of Texas, I didn't catch that.
That was he went off at the Attorney General, and it was spicy. Let me see if I can quickly pull it up here. I did share it. But he was basically, you know, going off at this dude for that very reason, for like saying that the parents are domestic terrorists. We can listen to a little bit of that if you guys want to. It's about like 9 minutes long, but we can listen to that.
Going back to the kids thing, I feel like parents have always been saying, you know, it's like, is this the best time to be having kids? I mean, you look at like, shoot, I mean, probably during World War II, you know, and then of course you had a baby boom after that. But you know, Vietnam, Cold War. I mean, just, it seems like any time, especially in this last century, you could be saying like, is it really a good time to be having kids? But I totally understand. I think even now more so, like this is it's just a different kind of uncertainty. So I totally get that, that sentiment and thought process, because I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, we haven't been down this road before. Like this feels like uncharted territory.
It absolutely is. That's why we're calling it clown realm now. I mean, it's freaking insane. I feel like I woke up one day and we were literally in the Twilight Zone, and I was like, am I the only one that's normal? I don't understand. And then I found like John's channel, and then I found your channel, and I'm like, okay, there is still normal people. It's just the realm has changed.
Yeah.
Demajanai, thank you so much for the 5. Says, hail panel and hail chat. I can't wait for Rippa's comic. Let's do this. Star Council will be back soon. Hashtag F mandates. Hashtag F mandates indeed. Hashtag freedom flu, all that good stuff. Okay, so let's start with Senator Ted Cruz, because you are in Texas, right?
Yeah, I'm in Texas. Yeah.
So there you go. This is your senator.
Yeah.
Ripping this dude a new one. Right here. Okay, here we go.
For 8 years under Barack Obama, the Department of Justice was politicized and weaponized. When you came before this committee in your confirmation hearing, you promised things would be different. I asked you specifically, quote, will you commit to this committee that under your leadership, the Department of Justice will not target the political opponents of this administration? Here was your answer, quote, absolutely. It's totally inappropriate for the department to target any individual because of their politics or their position in a campaign. That was your promise just a few months ago. I'm sorry to say you have broken that promise. There is a difference between law and politics. And General Garland, you know the difference between law and politics. Law is based on facts. It is impartial. It is not used as a tool of political retribution. This memo was not law. This memo was politics. On Wednesday, September 29th, the National School Board Association wrote a letter to the president asking the president to use the Department of Justice to target parents that were upset at critical race theory, that were upset at mask mandates in schools, to target them as domestic terrorists. On the face of the letter was in repeated consultation with the White House, an explicit political consultation with the White House. That was on Wednesday, September 29th. 5 days later, on Monday, so right after the weekend, boom, you pop out a memo giving them exactly what they want. Now, by the way, I understand that. In politics, that happens all the time. An important special interest wants something. Sir, yes, sir. We're going to listen to them. Let me ask you something, General Garland. In the letter, which you told the House of Representatives was the basis for this abusive memo targeting parents, how many incidents are cited in that memo?
I have to look back through the memo.
Okay, you don't know. How many of them were violent?
Again, the general report.
How many of them were violent? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know. And there's a reason you don't know. Because you didn't care, and nobody in your office cared to find out. I did a quick count just sitting here. During this hearing, I counted 20 incidents cited. Of the 20, 15 on their face are nonviolent. They involve things like insults. They involve a Nazi salute. That's one of the examples. My God, a parent did a Nazi salute at a school board because he thought the policies were oppressive. General Garland is doing a Nazi salute at an elected official. Is that protected by the First Amendment?
Yes, it is.
Okay. 15 of the 20 on the face of it are not violent. They're not threats of violence. They're parents who are unhappy. Yet, miraculously, when you write a memo, the opening line of your memo, in recent months, there has been a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence. You know what? You didn't look, and nobody on your staff looked. Did you even look up the 20 instances?
As I testified, the decision to make send the memo is for an assessment.
Did you look up the 20 instances?
He had some intern write it.
Did anyone on your staff look them up?
I don't know the answer, but it's not
but of course you don't. And General, look, you started your career as a law clerk to Justice Brennan. You've had many law clerks during the year, during your time as a judge. I was a clerk to Chief Justice Rehnquist. I'll tell you what, if I drafted an opinion for the Chief Justice and walked in and it said, there's a disturbing pattern of violence. Well, Ted, how do you know that? Well, I got an amicus brief here who claims it. You would fire a law clerk who did that. You're the Attorney General of the United States. This was not a tweet you sent. This is a memo to the Federal Bureau of Investigations saying, go investigate parents as domestic terrorists.
That is not what the memo says at all. It does not.
Is it what the letter says?
That is not what.
Is it what the letter says?
I don't care what the letter says.
You don't care. You said it was the basis of your memo. You testified under oath before the House of Representatives. The letter was the basis of your memo. Now you don't care about the letter?
The letter and public reports of violence and threats of violence. My memo says nothing about domestic terrorism, says nothing about parents committing any such things. My memo is an attempt to get an assessment of whether there is a problem out there that the federal government needs to resolve.
The letter on its face says the actions of the parents could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism.
And that is wrong.
And asks the president to use the Patriot Act in regards to domestic terrorism directed at parents.
And
this was the basis of your memo.
My memo.
The Department of Justice, when you're directing the FBI to engage in law enforcement, you're not behaving as a political operative because a political ally of the president says, hey, go attack these parents because we don't like what they're saying. Department of Justice, you did no independent research on what was happening, did you?
The memo has nothing to do with partisan.
Did you do independent research?
The memo
Did you do independent research?
The memo has nothing to do.
Okay, you're not answering that question.
This guy's like, what?
Yelling squirrel.
This is a freaking kangaroo court. That's the thing. It's like, does any of this really matter? Is any of it gonna change?
No, that's the part that sucks about it all. It's like when we talk about Fauci, right? Like, I mean, these guys don't go under for any. These are people that I consider among some of the most evil people in the world. Like, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, I sincerely mean that when I say that Fauci belongs under the prison, not in the prison, under it. I mean that, and this is backed by. I mean, you can go back to the AIDS epidemic and he botching that as well. But specifically with what's in regards to what we know, and then it comes out NIH is funding literal gain of function research. Still on MSNBC, CNN, like it didn't even happen. These dudes are even more jacked up stuff going on with like these monkey brains and dogs. He ain't gone under for nothing. You know what I mean? And that's what sucks about it. Like, these are awesome, and that you see these guys grilling these people and tearing into them. But unfortunately, yet it hasn't manifested any of these guys getting criminal charges. Like, people, I say this all the time, man. People love to throw the founders out there and all of that sort of stuff. The founders went to war for a lot less.
Yep.
A lot less. Like, I mean, where we're at right now, I mean, all it took was a 3% tax for them to say, hell no.
Yeah. And we'll take your guns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have these guys doing what is so blatantly criminal, and they're not going under for anything, man. And that's the part that sucks. You know what I mean? And really, you know, this is what I grill a lot of conservatives on a lot, is that the only people that benefit from them and their protection of the status quo so much are the leftists.
Yep.
Those are the people that benefit from that. When they're, we got to play nice all the time. We have to do this. We have to do that. We can't be like them and all of that. The only people that take advantage of that, or rather who that benefits, is them, because they know, well, they could rig the game in whatever way that they want. They could lie, cheat, steal. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the status quo is going to be protected by the people that they claim are their adversaries. And this is why I speak less about, I don't know, trying to get Nancy Pelosi out of a seat, and more about trying to pull the rug under from Nancy Pelosi's to where none of her or her constituents even have a damn job. I think that's really the only solution at this point, because these evil sons of guns, as long as they can keep on doing what it is that they're doing, they're going to keep on doing it, because, again, they're not facing any sort of consequences.
Yeah, like, for example, I saw this come out. It says lawmakers pen letter to Fauci, NIH over funding for alleged experiments with puppies. And my first reaction was like, ooh, a letter. Like, these people are torturing dogs and animals, and now they're doing the same to us. And these guys are like, let me get my like Karen pen out and start writing this letter. Like,
the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah.
I think we could actually use a sword here. You know?
Yeah. I mean, like I say, people back in the Gap would have. I mean, we're talking about tar and feathering. Like, these people are among some of the most evil people in this, not just in this country, but in the world, and they're getting away with it. You know, and this is why my take, I know it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way when the January the 6th thing happened, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna go condemn that?" It's like, I ain't condemning shit. You know what I mean? Because I'm not about to pretend like Congress isn't a band of criminals. These are the people that send your children off to war. These are the people that are responsible for this mountains of debt that this country has, and the continued deficit spending, selling off assets of unborn people by monetizing that debt. Like, that's them. Like, those are the worst people in this country right now. I'm not pretending like just because some unarmed people walked in there and kicked their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, this is the equivalent to 9/11. Yeah, like, I'm not doing that. So, you know, I went on the blaze, and I said this many times, like, I don't know why y'all falling over each other to try to condemn these actions, because it's not like the left is gonna like you now because you wouldn't condemn what happened. Are they gonna like you? No. I'm gonna still say you the worst of the absolute worst. But me, I'm not gonna pretend like those criminals out there aren't actual criminals. The Congress are some of the we call it a cathedral for a reason. They're among some of the worst. I mean, this is the scum of the earth. And I'm not gonna pretend like, as they sit and duck under their desk in a bunker somewhere, like they aren't still
AOC.
No.
She wasn't even there.
Yeah, AOC lying, talking about bombs and all this sort of stuff that you weren't even anywhere near.
Yeah.
I have no desire to pretend like those people aren't evil, man. They're evil.
No.
And it seems like it was orchestrated. Like, that was the narrative that they wanted. Because, I mean, really, it's not in my opinion, can you really classify it? They keep calling it the insurrection.
No, you can't classify a bunch of,
but it's
you're talking about the side of people.
Tour.
Right. You're talking about the side of people that has all the guns, right? And you mean to tell me, and again, you don't got to take my word for anything. Y'all can go look this up. There were no discovered firearms at all.
That's what I've been saying too.
So a bunch of unarmed people were going to have an insurrection. Like, Come on, man. And then you
such
see all the
bullshit.
I know they're starting to release like footage of the like these people are basically being waved in there. They just walk
Right.
in. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's like the only person that got shot was that poor girl,
Exactly.
by a police
law
officer, and
enforcement.
it's actually kind of insane because all you've ever heard is these gun nuts Republican weirdos that all they care about is guns, and like, you know, they'll kill you all if you ever like, you know, do whatever. And then not one gun, like not even one person had one. And it's like, not that I'm saying like, yeah, go and, you know, do that,
Right.
but it's just, it's so crazy the picture that the media paints over the reality of what happened. And then everyone's like, you know, and you have celebrities like Mark Hamill coming out calling everyone like, you know, Trumpers and condemning January the 6th and stuff like that. I'm like, man, have you guys actually seen an insurrection? I mean,
we just saw
Afghanistan.
one, the Taliban.
Yeah, the Taliban.
That's how it looks.
Yeah, they actually took over. You know, they were armed. They took over.
That's how an insurrection actually looks. That's how it looks. Not like a bunch of dude bros and grandmas holding American flags. That's
like
not
taking
what
selfies and shit.
That's not what an insurrection looks like, man.
Yeah, and then what the funny part is, so this Fauci stuff is coming out about, you know, the dogs and all the very bad stuff is coming out. And then literally like yesterday, I see like mainstream news drop like ISIS news for the first time in like God knows how long. Like, oh, you know, the ISIS K is coming for you. Like, you know, it's going to be, they're going to be attacking between now and the next 12 months. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like Fauci's in the news and people are actually upset finally about something because people care about dogs. And then all of a sudden it's like, no. There's nothing to see here. ISIS is going to come kill you. Everyone get in line. I'm just like,
it's part of the course, right? They go to the old war effort to yell squirrel and get people to pay attention to certainly something else when we got all these problems domestically that are going on in this country. And this is, I mean, that was one of the things that peeled me on a lot of what was going on in the real world. I know we kind of talked about this off air, Nina, but you know, the war efforts and a lot of the lies that were sold in the recent war efforts to, you know, and unfortunately left the destruction of, I mean, a lot of people's lives. I mean, talking about innocent civilians being killed out there, and it was just sold on just a complete sham. And I think most people accept that for what it is now. But, you know, you look at them lying about something like that, and you know they're lying about virtually everything else. And I just don't see us having the time to be worried about, well, I mean, yeah, you can focus on more things at once, but, you know, I'm not going to pretend like other countries don't have their own issues, but we got a den of thieves right now, you know, that are operating in very powerful positions that are in the United States of America. I think those should be more of a primary focus. I mean, if I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Dude, I hear you. It's actually kind of mind-boggling to a point where, like I was telling you in the back as well, like I read this book called Political Pulmonology, and it really opened my eyes to what is going on in terms of politics and psychopaths running things, because it's basically literally a bunch of psychopaths who have realized, and they're different than us in every way possible. Like they don't understand empathy. There's no, there is no human emotion or anything like that. They can't connect to you, so that they just want to destroy you and control you, and that's it. And it's mind-boggling to me that people can't really come to that, because they're like they just project their own goodness and kindness.
That's what they attempt to do. They always offer them, the worst people, the benefit of the doubt. And then you are talking about literal psychopaths. It's like was that what's the name? Jen Psaki was talking the other day, and you know, of course, she was asked a question about the supply chain issues and all of that, and you know, she makes a snarky joke about, God forbid, basically people go without treadmills, and I'm like, obviously that's an economically illiterate statement, because we know that there are more important things than treadmills that are out there, but that treadmill is tied to a job opportunity somewhere. And you basically just said, screw that. And this is why they talk in the way that they do, because they virtually have no skin in the game.
Exactly.
They have none. They have no skin in the game, so they'll ruin your lives. You saw this with like lockdowns and all of that.
Yep.
Like they'll ruin your life. They have no problem doing that. They have no problem ruining your life.
No problem.
Yeah, because that's just everybody else's issue. Congress, they can vote for themselves to get a raise, all kinds of things. Like they don't have to worry about. Those are problems that they don't have to deal with, which is why it's so easy for them to advocate such destructive policies, because you're going to feel the brunt of it, not them. So in the event there are supply chain issues, they'll make sure Washington, D.C. gets all the necessities and everything it is that they need. Meanwhile, a lot of other people are going to have to go without. It's silly.
Yeah, and the craziest thing was, like, I heard, and this is the kind of stuff that YouTube does not want me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I just heard like Joe Rogan talking about how before like the vaccine stuff started coming out, that Dr. Pierre Corey was basically treating Congress and all these people with ivermectin. And they've been getting treated for a long time. So was Trump. He was getting he got all the different before like the vaccine came out fully, he was getting it. Like all of these people have been getting this kind of treatment. And then when it comes to us, it's like, no,
I want to know who took it.
Yeah.
I want to
because none of them are speaking up about it.
There's a reason for that. Why? Meanwhile, they shut any alternative down that doesn't have to do with the jab. I want to know who took that. I want to know who all took it. They need to speak up, or I don't know if a FOIA request or whatever needs to happen. But they need. I want to know who did it. I want to know. I want a list of who took that, because I'm willing to bet there's some of them that have still that have taken it themselves that are probably still preaching about how.
Get vaccinated,
right? All of that sort of stuff. I'm willing to bet bread on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they want you. It's like we have this one avenue. We don't want you thinking for yourself. We don't want you going outside of our prescribed, avenue. You have to go. You have to do it our way.
Yep.
And the moment somebody introduces some other way of doing it, especially, and again, it's like, well. Look who benefits. Look who's benefited from this whole thing.
Yep.
They don't want you going to find another product somewhere else. They've got a monopoly on the market.
Yep. 100%. I mean, that's why we see what we see with the jab. I mean, why in the hell are people asking for medical advice from the CEO of Pfizer? Why is CNN interviewing the CEO of Pfizer, asking him, okay, when could we actually return to normalcy? Why? What is he gonna say? Oh, y'all can do it now. No, it's it. What does he say? Oh, well, yeah, you get these booster shots and all. Yeah, he's trying to lace his own pockets up, man. Like, right. People think that this has everything to just do with health and safety. It's complete and utter nonsense. It's in the best interest of the pharmaceutical companies that y'all get that. They're talking about, and I know we were going to probably speak about this later in the show, but with the FDA and their recent approval was 17. I believe one of them I kind of abstained from voting. So you're talking about 17-0 recommending emergency usage for children. Has anybody looked at those numbers in regards to children? You're talking
99.997.
It's not even like 500 of them that have passed from this. And then when you consider specifically the ages 5 to 11, it's not even 200. Why on earth are they rushing so fast to get these young people jabbed? Makes no sense.
Makes no sense at all.
Pockets up, and they have the most to gain from it.
This is what Eric is talking about. So the FDA panel votes 17-0 to endorse COVID-19 vaccines for kids 5 to 11. I mean, was anyone surprised though? I wasn't. I mean, obviously they're going to do that. But so Dr. Rubin on the FDA panel said, we're never going to learn about how safe the vaccine is until we start giving it. That's the way it goes. So here is
that
the
old
video.
Nancy Pelosi. Pass it first, and then we know what's in the bill.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's the same thing.
That's how they operate on their kids or grandkids, right?
Yeah. It's insane. That is criminal, man.
It's crazy. Let's hear from the horse's mouth, and then we can discuss this, because I had a lot of feelings about this.
But we're never going to learn about how safe the vaccine is unless we start giving it. That's just the way it goes. But
insane.
We're never going to learn about
just the way it goes.
Absolutely insane. Like your children are lab rats. Let's just say what call it what it is. They don't know what is, and I'm obviously we looked at the intro, and the fact that people look at like not more so a lot of the people that are in the kind of science and in tech field in those regards as if they've never dropped the ball on anything is just, it baffles my mind. I'm glad you showed that there's been a history. I mean, not just for Pfizer, like Pfizer included, and
Moderna
putting stuff out, and then they say, "Whoops, this may have caused cancer. We're gonna take it off the shelves." Like what? Like, and we're just supposed to accept that it's safe and effective. That's what the hell does that mean anyway? But it's safe and effective. That's what it is to say. There are no long-term, we'll figure it out along the way. So they want your children to be lab rats. And I don't care where you are on the subject of this vaccination. This makes no sense. The children you're talking about, it's nearly statistically insignificant in terms of them being hospitalized, as well as them being killed in regards to COVID. That's not my opinion. This is on the WHO bulletin, Mama Susan. This is also on CDC themselves. They have conceded exactly this according to their own numbers. So then they'll say, well, they could maybe spread it to someone that's older. And to that I say, well, wait, first of all, I thought the vaccine is supposed to work. But let's just assume that narrative just really quick. Since when did we start adopting this idea that we sacrifice young folk for the sake of saving older generations?
Thank you.
When was that supposed to happen? Like, when did we start living like that? Like that's about, like it was about that. But either way, again, I know the dates, August 5th, they finally conceded, CDC, that it doesn't stop transmission. So what are we even talking about?
Right.
What are you even talking about?
Vaccinate people could spread it.
Yes, exactly. It's still, so the only thing that they're doing right now is attempting to jab a bunch of people that are basically, again, statistically insignificant in terms of them having a severe reaction to the COVID. That's just mind-boggling, but that lets you know this has nothing to do with health.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with health. Nothing.
Yeah. And the UK, I mean, speaking about spreading, sorry, Nina, I mean,
no, go ahead, John.
But the UK right now, they're experiencing a new outbreak.
Yep.
And they're 80% vaccinated.
Yep.
But we've seen this. We've seen this in Israel.
Singapore.
We've seen it here in just
Massachusetts
case studies. These colleges, like 98%.
Australia is the same way now too, having the highest infection rate right now, have highest cases since they started vaccinating, but they're almost all vaccinated too.
Definition of insanity.
Yep. Look at Singapore.
Nuts.
Singapore is the most hilarious one because they have this crazy high vaccination rate. And when I say you go look at like the charts that show the actual explosion, it's not even close. Like you're talking about, they have, I mean, the equivalent to like hundreds of thousands of people being infected at a time out here. Obviously, Singapore is a lot smaller, but it's not even close. They have a higher. How do you explain that? If it's working in the way that they said initially, which the CDC said back in, what was it, March? Oh, people aren't carrying the virus, aren't getting sick. And then whoops, we take that part back. But no, seriously. How do you explain that? Why did the CDC stop taking, or like they stopped basically if you weren't hospitalized, they basically stopped keeping record of the breakthrough cases.
Right.
Come on, man. Why the hell did they do? Why do we have to refer to UK? Because they kept up with the data, and we see that, wait a minute, a lot of people that are in a lot of cases, most of them are people that have already been vaccinated that have been hospitalized for this. So they have to rely on like a lot of state and local governments out here that are keeping the data, and some of them aren't at all. You know what I mean? Like it's some rapid test, and they're not even attempting to keep hold of that. So you can look at the breakthrough numbers that are in the US, and you probably can amplify that by Lord knows how much, because the data is inaccurate in the first place. Like it's no longer a breakthrough case. This is what the Florida Surgeon General basically was saying. Like we can't even call it that anymore because it's happening too often.
With regards to the kids too, like and you know how you were saying, like, when have we done this? It's just, to me, it's like the weirdest thing too. It's like it's so backwards to think like, oh, we're gonna vaccinate kids to protect adults and like older people, and it's like, remember back in the day when, like, if you were on the Titanic and it was like women and children first, and it's like now it's like, oh, get out of the way, children. Like, it's time for like the the elderly to get on the rafts. Like,
you're just like knocking them overboard.
Insane.
Like, no,
save the old people.
Insane. It's absolutely insane, and that sucks because it's like we know, particularly in young people, again, they have conceded this as well. So this is a medical misinformation or anything about the increased risk of myocarditis in young people, particularly young boys.
Yeah,
that's a thing. They've already conceded that. That's a thing that they're already. Heart inflammation is a
but
serious
it's not.
thing,
That's
man.
the thing, though, Eric. It's not like. When it comes to assuming the risk, they're like, oh, you can assume the risk for this heart problem that my kid may have for the rest of his life, but I'm not going to assume the risk of getting a virus that has a survival rate of 99.8%.
Yeah, with that, hell, with that demographic of 5 to 11, it's like 99.9.
It's zero.
It's virtually zero in the IFR with that demographic. So yeah, you're right. That's insane. That doesn't make any. This has nothing to do with health. This ain't about health. I know people want it to be, and they want to see the good in folks. And this is what I said early on. This is me. You go watch my videos back in like March and April. I was talking about this as, you know, when we move towards the like mass masking and all of that. And I'm sitting here like, dudes, we're doing something that is unprecedented. This has never been done in recent modern history, where for whatever reason, they took this particular virus and decided to just have a mass freak out about it, despite it having an IFR in the way that it does. Ebola, all of H1N1, so swine flu, all of those things. That
the Zika. I mean, I'm in Mexico, and Zika was a huge deal here before COVID happened.
And we did none of what we're doing right now. And like in the case of Ebola, which we did have an outbreak out here in America. I remember a Dallas outbreak that happened. That was obviously more likely to kill you, right? That was, as I had a pretty high IFR, infected fatality rate there. And now we're doing all of this, much of what we've never done for something that you look at for children. Again, not an opinion. The flu is more deadly to them. I'm not talking about older demographics. I'm talking specifically about that age demographic. It's more deadly to them. Yet there wasn't these sort of mass forms of mandates regarding flus, vaccinations, and all of that. So why are they doing it with this? And what the people, it goes to what we were just talking about. A lot of folks always want to look at the good in people, and they will never want to concede that they're just evil. So they're like, why wouldn't they do this unless it was that dangerous? And for which can be explained by them just simply being evil. Take it for what it is. I know a lot of us don't want to accept that, but they're bad people. And yes, bad people do bad things at a mass scale. This is why I'm against government so much.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw this today and I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, this lady is a doctor and she's like, today my 4-year-old had the privilege of participating in the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine clinical trials at Texas children for 2 to 4 years old. We're thankful to the scientists and pharmacists and others involved in the vaccine development process for working to keep our children safe.
You'd have to kill me. You'd have to literally kill me before I'd let my kid do that. I'm not joking.
No, for real. Oh yeah.
And she's voluntarily. Like here's my kid as a guinea pig.
She just literally just sacrificed her child.
That's her.
That's what she did. Now I would hope to God nothing happens. There's no issues stemming from this child or this vaccination regarding this child in the future. I would hope to God that is the case. That doesn't change the fact that she sacrificed her child. That's what she did. That's what she did.
I think that's evil. Personally, I think
100%.
that's evil. I just feel like we're at a point in our life where doctors are doing monstrous thing in public, like in the public, and they're being like, praise me for this. And it's like you just sacrificed your kid for a bunch of likes.
What did you like? What is wrong with you? And I mean, that's the thing. Like, she's a doctor. You would think,
that's what makes it sad.
Yeah, it's like, but it just goes to show, like, you can have educated. I mean, I hate
criminals,
to say it, educated fools.
Among some of the most evil people in history have been exactly that. I mean, I don't know if anybody has looked at the numbers for medical malpractice. It's high. in terms of how many people die per year in regards. These aren't saints that we're dealing with.
Right.
I know that, yeah.
People assume.
Yeah, they just assume that because they do something that's of necessity. Yeah, like that doesn't mean that there aren't people among them that aren't bad. You know what I mean? Like they're like generally we accept that in any other industry. I don't know why people look the other way when it comes to science and in the medical field. If anything,
it's weird, Eric. It's a weird thing though, because I feel like they were a couple of years ago, like they were looking into more like, medical malpractices. They were looking into all this stuff, pharmaceuticals, even like GMO and how bad it is for you, like all this stuff like Monsanto and like all that stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like hard stop. They're great. We love them. They have your best interests at heart. They don't do anything wrong. And it's like, what the hell happened? Like we literally did wake up and go to the Twilight Zone because like 5 days ago, I was reading about how, Pfizer just pulled this drug. Not going to even name it. That was causing all these other problems.
That was what was it? Chantix? What was it? I'll name it because I want them to pay for their crimes.
I forget.
What was it?
I
It was
so.
Something what they end up pulling because it was the one of those like smoke, trying to stop people from smoking and all of that sort of stuff, which they end up having to pull because of some sort of issues with cancer related deal. I can't remember what exactly.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
What was the name of the drug that like just happened, and everybody just looking the other way. They look the other way.
They are.
I think it was Chantix. I could be wrong, but I think it was Chantix if I'm not mistaken.
People are saying it's Chantix. I can't type right now because my keyboard decided I don't want to work anymore. So
I believe that was what it was, and that was on the market for a very long time before they finally conceded exactly that.
Oh my gosh!
So that's what it was because the FDA in July, Pfizer issues a voluntary nationwide recall for 12 lots of Chantix due to this content, which basically is some like cancer causing thing like that. The people that are issuing emergency use vaccinations that just have it's the same company.
Yes, it was that. Let me
it's the same company, and people just like, well, that didn't happen. This one's good. It's inherently good.
There's Nina, if you could share my screen.
I just did.
Okay, thanks. So this is I found this on historyofvaccines.org. For some reason I couldn't find it again, but this is on New York State. But they talk about the creation of a vaccine involves scientists and medical experts from around the world. It usually requires 10 to 15 years of research before the vaccine is made available to the general public. That right there, okay. We don't have I know they'll say we've tested a greater portion of the population. We've tested as many people as probably required that they usually would in that 10 to 15 year period, doing clinical trials. But the reality is we still don't have.
There's no long-term data. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. This is all in real time.
Yep.
That's the insanity of this. Yeah. And so they could say it's safe and effective as they want, but they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Just like the intro with DDT. Same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. They can say all of that at one. It's been tested. It's been doing all this. And again, I hope to God, I know a lot of us have family members that took it. I hope to God that y'all are all right. You know what I mean? But who's to say that something, you may not catch it now. I mean, they're just now doing studies on women's cycles. You know what I mean? Just now, they had announced, you take care of that before. But that goes to show how much in its infancy it is. So what they'll say is that mRNA vaccinations have been or rather that style of tech has been tested for years. But this specific one, no, there are no long-term studies. You said COVID-19 was
I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they just came out and put out another statement saying that they were going to just start clinical trials for the vaccine in some no-name city in Brazil. And I was like,
they're trying to get everybody there, and that they're using them as the test. I did read about that as the test subject. This is all real time. This is all real. We're doing it right now, And again, I would hope that everybody's okay, but to act as if someone is being because that's my problem. It's the issue is not even that. It's like, look, if you wanted to line yourself up to be an individual lab rat, by all means, that's your business.
Your choice.
That's yeah, it is your choice. The problem is that they demonize those of us who simply acknowledge exactly what John just brought up. That generally it takes way longer than that short period of time for people to find out that this stuff is generally safe. So for those of us that are like, okay, we look at the IFR, we look at the infected fatality rate, we look at people that are in our general age group. It's like, I think we're going to be. Then we look at what's going on with the natural immunity stuff and how that seems to be better than unaffected people that get 2 jabs and all of that. Like, we can look at that and analyze that, the same data they have access to, and come to a different conclusion and say that's not for me. But there's unfortunately this demonization because it's not me. I'm not the one advocating that the government force people to not take the jet. That's not what I'm advocating. If you want to do that, that's your
do it.
Surely up to you.
The aggression is one-sided. They then want to force us to do that, and that's where the problem lies. This is why I say this ain't even about vaccinated versus unvaccinated. That ain't what even any of this shit is even about. It's about the simple fact that we believe in the right to choose what you inject into your body.
And then they started saying if you don't do it, you're not getting a paycheck, and you're not getting a job, and you're not getting this, and you're literally barred from society.
Australia's doing they're doing that now. I mean, the guy the prime minister, he just said like that's starting now. The vaccinated
these guys getting cocky out there too, man. They're getting real cocky.
But that's the thing too, is that to me, it's like if you're saying that kind of stuff, which by the way, like the other side, like usually the COVIDiots or like the cultists or whatever you want to call them, they're so like 1 second they'll be like, oh, we care about everyone. We love everyone. We want everyone to get vaccinated. And the second you're like, no, I'm not getting vaccinated. They're like, well, then fuck you. I hope you die.
I hope you die. Right. Die. I hope you and your family, your entire family dies, which is what they say. Could let you know they don't give a damn about.
We're not like that.
No, we're not.
We hope you die from the vaccine.
I'm the one saying that I hope nothing happens to you, man. Like I'm the one saying that. But in the event that I say, nah, that ain't for me. Oh, I hope you die. Right? It's coming from the same side, hilariously enough, that is so for
compassion,
compassion and universal health care and all this sort of stuff, which really what they're showing is why it's the worst thing that could possibly happen in the event that they monopolized it. Like they don't like the idea of people coming to different conclusions is really what this is about. So God forbid that someone just says, you know what, that's not for me. That's not for me. You do what you do, but it's not for me.
Exactly. And that's the other thing like that I wanted to highlight was Sydney Watson's tweet today, because she said the simple reality is that there are people with whom I have no interest in sharing a country. I used to think live and let live was the way to go. But how do you live alongside people who are diametrically opposed to you in every way and who act out their opposition? People don't have to agree to live together. People I love and respect don't share all my ideas, and vice versa. It makes us better. But those in opposition better nothing. They are shaping a society in which I don't want to live, with values that go against everything I believe. And that to me is the crux of the matter here, is that when they come to you and they're like, we're mandating these vaccines, and if you don't do what we say, you're not going to be part of the society anymore. And I'm like, well, then you're building a society I don't want to be part of. And therefore, that is why I have been about decentralization, because I don't want to live in a society that you're building, this psychopathic society that you want to, just divide everybody and have your way. And if it's not in your way, it's your way or the highway. I don't want to live in that fascist society, man. That is not what I signed up for,
I've said this time and time again. I mean, it's funny because I was just on, obviously, Sydney and Elijah's show. What was that? Fucking not even that many days ago. Talking about exactly that. And that's where she got that rhetoric from, because I said, because she had asked me like, what I can't remember if it's her or Elijah, like, what are we looking at in terms of like, trying to get out of this? I said, stop trying to share a government with crackheads. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
Like
Yes.
that's the issue here. And that, again, the only people that benefit from you trying to protect that status quo are them. You empower them.
Yeah.
You ensure their power structure, and event you keep pushing for that. And this is why I'm trying to get these conservatives to stop being so chicken shit, to and actually advocate for this.
Actually do something.
Get on the, instead of becoming a reactionary all the time, being on the defense all the time, actually push for something that strips them of their actual power. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. And yeah, a lot of people are starting to get it now. Definitely. I mean, this is like the last year and a half. I mean, really, you're talking about like post George Floyd, when people saw that, like, you know, the same people that were lecturing you about all of, like, you need to stay inside, do all this, were cheering these folks on. They was tossing bricks in your places of business. That peeled a lot of people. They're like, why on earth would I want to share a government with these folks? And I'm like, yeah, welcome to libertarianism, man, because this is what we've been trying to tell y'all. Like, you can be a fan of what your country represents while despising that fucking government. You know what I mean? Like, they're not like, you don't have to treat them as if, well, like more mutual exclusivity, or vice versa, whatever it is, depending on what way that you put it. But they're not the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, country and state are not the same thing.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that your country, like some of the fundamental beliefs of your country, which is like basically free speech, you know, and you know, the right to believe, like, you know, believe in your like the freedom of religion, freedom of expression, all these things are being taken away. Like these are the things that are incredibly alarming, because as someone who came from Iran, and you know, I didn't live through the revolution, but my mom did, and that's why we left. That's why my mom left that country and went to Canada, was because we were experiencing what you're experiencing now, with censorship, with like them literally coming and taking away this guy's song, like on YouTube, that you know, started singing about "Let's Go Brandon."
Let's Go Brandon. Yep.
Yeah, he's just like, you know, he's just expressing himself through art, and then they're like, no.
Yeah.
How dare you express yourself through art? You're out. Like, I mean, this kind of stuff is extremely alarming to someone like me, who's lived through this kind of stuff and has seen this kind of stuff happen. And you know, in a lot of ways, unfortunately, it's sometimes something that has to happen before people can understand what it's like. Like, so I guess, like, you know, like, history repeats itself in a way. So I guess, like, it has to happen for us to move on. But then again, you look back at Germany right now, and Germany is, like, you know, doing some of the most like fascistic things that you could possibly imagine. Just like they didn't learn anything. And I'm like, the frick are you guys
It doesn't
doing?
take too many generations, you know, like, and especially now, I think where society is so, like, we're in just this high information type of society where everything, you're just bombarded with just constant this and that. I mean, kids growing up today, how much of a idea of history do they even have in their consciousness? You know, it's just like,
yeah, I mean, and this is why some of the most, like, I would argue, just meaningful and really impactful in terms of their perspective are people that have fled countries like that. You know, you talk about, you know, what you experienced out there in Iran. I've had people on the show, you know, kind of with last folks out, you know, with the fall of the USSR and all of that, like, and it's funny, it always comes, and it's in the name of socialistic efforts and communistic efforts. Every damn time. Every single time it is. And it's like they present it, and it's like, well, it's going to be different this time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it
every time, man. Every time.
Because it's our brand of this, and it's going to be better for our people. And it exists right now. Who was it? I can't remember if it was I think it was New Zealand, the horse face chick over there in New Zealand, when she's all talking about, she just got straight up asked. It's like you're treating people as if they're like, you know, secondary citizens and whatnot. She's like, yeah, that's exactly
what we're doing. And she's all laughing and smug and
she's
shit.
grinning and cheesing, like, she's all like that. I'm like,
that's fucking dictator shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the worst of the word. They're telling you what they're doing and what they have, what plans they have. We've seen this. We've seen this before. We have seen this before, and every single time it's done in the name of claiming they care about people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go
Hitler
back to
cared about Germany.
Exactly. He cared so much about his people. That was why he did all of what he did, because he supposedly cared so much about the people. You look at Great Leap Forward, you look at Zedong, you look at Pol Pot's Cambodia, you look at North Korea and their communism, pockets of all Africa, Somalia.
Look at Iran. I mean,
Iran, exactly.
Fuck, like
exactly. Like, it's always in the name of, oh, we care about our people, and this is why we have to rule over you in this way, because it's about security and safety and compassion for your fellow man. Every time they mask that authoritarianism with their humanitarian efforts, this is why you can't take anything of what they say for face value. They like
because psychopaths, that's how they work.
That's how they operate. Exactly.
They operate by trying to mimic your emotions and try to understand you through that. So that they do that because there's no other way, because they know that we feel things. Yeah. So they're like, let's get them through emotions. Let's, make them fearful that they're going to kill grandma and like all the stuff. That's how this all started. Don't you care about grandma? Yep. You better stay home. True. Like, that's how it all started.
People willingly, like, they themselves are promoting the narrative, like, you have useless or what does it say? Useful idiots, pretty much. Yep. I mean, I get it. Like, I think at this point in the game, though, like, people need to start waking up.
Yeah,
like, I feel like earlier
I gave you some leeway in the first couple of weeks, but now you come on.
If you haven't woken up by now, like, it's not happening.
Yeah,
like,
it's you're a lost cause. I mean, sometimes I feel that too. Like, I wake up in the day and I'm like, oh, today is one of those days. Like, I don't know. And then you see stuff in the news, and you hear stuff, people like you, Eric July, talk, and it gives me energy when I hear you, like, going off even like at some crazy shit that'll happen. And I'm like, yeah, you tell, motherfucker. Yeah.
Yeah, because look, I'm of the opinion, like, as bad as this shit is, I did a video not too long ago talking, it was titled "We Will Win." And I believe as bad as it, that's the way you got to look at it. Just as quick as it got bad, it could get better. Yeah. It's going to require a lot of just prying people from the damn matrix that they're in right now. And that's easier said than done. This is why I focus so much on culture and trying to get them away from that. And it starts to awakening people, because, I get emails, my emails bombarded with people. I disagree with you so much in the first few months, but now I see this shit for what it is. I say, look, man, it's better later than never. And this is why I focus my efforts so much on those guys. So I do believe that, because we are in the information age, it's all cultural. It's all people just doing what they thought was correct.
Sure.
And unfortunately, people that had all of the power, or rather the influence more so, were able to funnel that information to them. So they got all of them thinking the same way. And this is where, again, me being critical of conservatives yet again, where they messed up, because a lot of the stuff like that's on our wall, they thought that shit was trivial for years. It made fun of people that was into this type of shit.
Of course, yeah. Same with anime, like
anime and video games and all that stuff that didn't matter. Now you see what's video games, like, that's the number one industry, multiple billion-dollar industry right now, the most popular industry. And while they were like, oh, that's stupid, we have the best ideas on our side, we talk fast, we wear our suits, nobody cares. All we have to do is bring the ideas on our side. AOC goes to Twitch and goes and plays among us, among hundreds of thousands of people or whatever, and then she's planting seeds to all of these fucking young folk who do nothing but regurgitate the same old shit, not because they know it, because people will remember I talked about this yesterday's Tuesday night main event, and that was that people remember me and Ninja got into it over the mask shit. The guy's a fucking retard. I'm sorry. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But that represents most people in that space. They have no idea what it is that they're talking about. They're just repeating what their colleagues and everybody else said. And if we had any sort of cultural imprint, we would have been to stave that off. And that's why it's so important that we focus on those sort of stuff. Do not allow these like milquetoast boomer cons to sit here and act like what you do or what you like is trivial. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? They had crapped on hip hop music. It's the number one fucking thing in the fucking country right now in terms of music. It eclipsed rock and roll in America. You have all these other sorts of subcultures that people are really into. Punk rock. Remember, conservatives hated that shit for a long time. It's like That's why they got the left says shit. We'll play the long game. It may not matter right now, but we done infiltrated their schools. We done infiltrated all their forms of entertainment. They can't get away from us. They can't get away from us. And that's why they have so much power, because often a lot of folks that were all-minded of thinking, they neglected all of this stuff that we generally talk, because all of us here talk about entertainment and stuff. They neglected all that. Still to this day, Mike Cernovich is talking about nobody cares about Superman. You fucking, are you fucking clueless?
Are you trying to, ostracize or totally just lose influence with people that, like, what do you have to gain by a statement like that?
Exactly.
Yep,
that's true.
I'm real quick. I'm going to get to some of these super chats. This has been an amazing conversation, and you guys in the chat are amazing. I see all of you. So thank you so much for all of your support, and please smash the like and share the stream, because this is an amazing conversation and more people need to know about it. So I'm going to share my screen here the way John taught me how to do it a long time ago. And we're going to do this like this. Okay, here we go. So thank you so much, Mags, for your $5. Says police. Let me see if I can zoom. There we go. Poli-sci and econ major here. Studied constitutional stuff. Cool factoid. Why did our founders structure the Second Amendment go back to back up the First? That's very true. Thank you for that $5. And then Mags again for another $5 says, my brother took Chantix. He had a horrible nightmares, got off it a couple months in. I fear every day the effects of the drug are coming to surface. Oh my God, that's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. That sucks. And then Mags for another $2. Thank you so much for all your support. Whatever happens to the whole thing on consent, I know it's the whole consent thing, like, and the whole like my body, my choice thing. It's like, I don't, when it comes to like women, we have as if it has to do with abortion, we have a choice. But if it has
anything else, that's the only thing that it
no.
applies to. That's the only thing that it applies to. Anything else, no, you don't have the right to consent or anything. No
choice at all. Speaking moistly, thank you so much for the $5. Says, I love the science. Oh my God. He's so embarrassing. Mags again for another $5. Thank you so much. Says Elijah on you are here, calls unblaz as pure bloods. Personally, that sounds more badass. Didn't that come from I
don't know who first said it.
I think the reason that came about, though, was that originally I heard that the Red Cross put out a statement saying that they weren't accepting blood donations from vaccinated people.
Yeah. That's right.
And then so somebody was like, oh, so like the unvaccinated or the pure bloods or whatever, and then it took off. Which I guess I'm still considered that. I don't.
Yeah, same here.
I think that's it's a funny term, that's for sure. One of my friends who was vaccinated, I told him about this. And he was like, if you start calling yourself that, we can't be friends anymore. And I was like, that's what I am. So I'm saying. Rob Biller, thank you so much. Did I get this one? Yes, I did. Rob Biller, thank you so much for the $9.99. Says, these conversations are so important. Yes, they are. You guys are so important. All hail Nina and John. Thank you, Rippa. Looking forward to having a good comic book world again. And all hail Infinite Talk. Enough said. Thank you so much, Rob. That is a very nice compliment. And I agree about the comic book from Young Rippa. It's going to be amazing. 200 Watt Studio, thank you so much for the $2. Says, Nina, show the brought to you by Pfizer montage. Okay, yes, I will. I'll try and track that down. And also 200 Watt says, news is brought to you by Pfizer. Yes. Did you see that by any chance? There was a like a montage posted of how all the different like MSM, like mainstream news, is like, this segment is brought to you by Pfizer.
No,
like somebody had
hilarious.
Somebody had put them all together.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find that and I'll share it because 200 Watt Studios reminded me of that. Megs, thank you so much for the $5. Says, prayers, thoughts, etc. for all the Virginia this coming Tuesday. It's a real battle around here. trying to fight as best as I can. Is there something? What's happening in Virginia?
I don't know if is it the governor, because I know what's the name. They're both running, so I'm guessing that's what it is. I guess they have theirs. I don't know if is it their actual election, which I didn't know how that it was that early in Virginia. I'm guessing that's what it is. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
It's always really interesting. Yes, prayers to you guys, Mags. Definitely, I'll hold you in my thoughts. 200 Watt Studios, thank you for the $2. Says Rippa, good to see you guys. Turtle noise, please. Oh my God, 200 watts. This is not the show for this. Come back Friday. We have a Gmu, Almu08. Thank you so much. Says, let's go, Brandon. Y'all heard that song by Bryson Gray and Chandler Crump hit #1 on iTunes? Yes, I have. Trump needs this as his campaign song. I'm sure he'll use it. Did you see his note today that he put out? It was about like the tax stuff and everything like that. Like there was an announcement from him.
I didn't see that. Nah.
But he basically hinted at again that he's gonna run for office. And I was like, I don't know if you're just like putting these feelers out, or if you're actually gonna do it.
Right.
But I don't know. It just I don't see it happening because he's gonna be so much older by then too.
Right.
But I don't know. He keeps doing that every once in a while. Do you think he's gonna run?
I mean, it's Trump, so you can't leave anything out of the realm of possibility. And I think I think he's kind of playing it to where if it makes sense for him to do it, yeah, he'll do it. I don't know though, man. It's a lot has to go right for him to even make that happen.
Yeah, you can never tell. America the Free, thank you so much for the $20. Says love you all. Good night. Love you too, man. John just stepped away for a minute, but I will tell him that you said you love him. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. Thank you again for all your support. Meg Ellis. Oh, there you are, John. America the Free said he's leaving and said good night. Love you all.
Thanks, America the Free. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
There you go. Meg Ellis, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker of what is it? It's a Keep It Up pair doing a workout. And then the Aiken, thank you so much for the $7.99, says, I still think there's a difference between science and science with a $sign and science. If there's money to be made, then suspicion should be the first thought, in my opinion. I totally agree with you, because just like, I mean, ivermectin is science. Like there is medicine that works, that is good, that is scientific. Like modern medicine shouldn't be, like it shouldn't be demonized, because modern medicine still works. Like if you break your ankle, you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get some medicine. You're going to, go get a cast put on. But if there's like, what you're talking about with Pfizer and stuff like that, is a totally different story. And that's the science with the $sign. And you're absolutely right. Did you guys have anything to add on this one?
No, that's perfectly put. I mean, it's what we're dealing with right now is not any sort of science. So science is settled is a nonsensical term. Acting as if there's no medical experts or doctors that don't agree with this narrative. Yeah, they may get banned off of YouTube, but to act like they don't exist is just entirely insane. And what we are discussing right now is guys that have a lot to gain. I would also encourage you guys to look at some of the family members of Congress folk and see whose pockets how they're getting lined up by the Pfizers of the world. What was it? 9 new billionaires have been created out of this whole ordeal between them and Moderna and all that. We covered that on my show today. 9 new billionaires. To act like this is just in the interest of science and health alone, it's just completely nonsense.
You're kidding yourself.
Close the eyes, stick your head in the sand. That's what you got to do. Here's a couple good quotes real quick. I mean, on the subject of science, I don't know if we'll return to it.
Sure.
So I might as well get them out of the way, because when we were talking about this, it reminded me of Michael Crichton and some of the stuff he said. I couldn't find the particular quote, but he did say, like, people think scientists, he said something along the lines of, people think scientists are like, morally superior individuals, or like really ethical. And he basically says, like, yeah, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like they're extremely biased. They're out for themselves. I mean, again, this idea that we somehow put scientists or doctors on this certain like pedestal of like, they must be, you know, morally, ethically great people, I guess, because they went to school for 7 years and they made a lot of money. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're human beings.
Yeah.
They're made up of the same material that all of us are. They're human, you know, they're not somehow infallible by any stretch. And in fact, I think when we hold individuals up like that, and we kind of, you know, we make that, we put a shield around them, so to speak, you know, or we hold them up in such like that stature, we set them up to fall. We give them an inflated sense of purpose, like a greater sense of purpose, and perhaps they really should have. But he said scientists are actually preoccupied with accomplishment. So they are focused on, and this is similar to what he said before. So they are focused on whether they can do something. They never stop to ask if they should do something. And this other one too, he says it's no longer a calling, it's a career. Science is as corruptible as human activity as any other. That's human nature. It isn't going to change. So Michael Crichton, a scientist himself, you know, just being honest, I guess.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
200 Watt Studios, thank you so much for the 5. Says, isn't Chantrix what Ray Liotta was pushing in commercials the last few years?
I used to see it all the time. On that stuff's been around for a little bit. But I used to see Chantrix commercial all the time. Yeah.
200 Watt Studios says the Pfizer on your Twitter. I got it. I actually just pulled it up as John was pulling up those quotes. It gave me a moment to get it. So here it is. This is what's going on. Oh, oops.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Nightline. Brought to you.
What the fuck? I ain't none.
By Pfizer. CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Thought. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer. This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Like that's
oh my gosh. I don't watch TV. I've never seen that.
I don't watch TV either.
I don't see like this. There was even like that. What was that that organization or the American something of pediatrics or something like that? They remember they came out talking about like masking children and all this other nonsense. And they had, if you look on like who are their like funders, basically Pfizer was one of them. They ended up taking it off.
I remember that.
They ended up taking it off, but Pfizer was one of them. And it's like, you cannot look at that and act as if that means like you can't ignore it. Is more so what it is. I know a lot of people want to look at that and act like, well, that's just, they're still just doing good things. And like, no, they're acting in their own self-interest, man. And
it's crazy.
It's in their own benefit. Doesn't mean that it's the best for every single individual just because it exists. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how this works. Like, it's up in their best interest for everybody to get more and more jabs, because that means more and more money for them, man. And to act like that's just not a thing is unfortunately the problem here is people just completely ignore that. They ignore it. And there was once upon a time when people looked at Pfizer and all these pharmaceutical companies as if they were evil, and now all of a sudden they're just the best people in the world, I guess.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. And like, and then you tell them stuff like this. And then you tell them stuff like this, and it's like, I don't know if you ever seen that episode of Friends when Chandler's like, that didn't happen, and then he just kind of like tries to snap his fingers like it didn't happen, and you're like, it did just happen, and this is what you're being told, and they keep doing that, and they're like, no, it didn't happen, and then they just keep going back to sleep over and over and over. That's why it's like, I feel like it's important for us to do these kind of shows and even talk about the same things over and over and over again, because we really like, it's like shaking people awake all the time. Like, no, man, we talked about this last week. This is what happened. You know, it's a never ending battle. Leonard, thank you so much for the 10. He says, it seems to me the only question whether the plague was accidentally or intentionally released in Wuhan. I think
it's hard to say. I mean, like, we do know for a fact. I mean, it doesn't mean that it was this particular coronavirus, but the NIH has, excuse me, they've already confirmed that we know that that's specifically with bat coronavirus. It just happens to be bat coronaviruses.
Yeah.
They had been funding a Wuhan lab.
Yeah.
That was running those sorts of tests on bat coronaviruses and them being able to move among species to species. So, but that doesn't mean that is the COVID-19, because there are multiple coronaviruses. That doesn't mean that it's the COVID-19 coronavirus. It's just hella ironic that it has.
But they were experimenting with gain of function viruses, and they're doing these kind of different things. We don't know if it
Fauci seemed to be, and you know, and perfect timing, like right before. I mean, the year like going in the election. I don't know. It's just like a lot of
coincidences, huh?
A lot of coincidences.
201 event, a couple months before that. You know,
a lot of coincidences going on. It's hard to say, man. I've never been one of those that said for sure it's one way or the other, because this is what I've said about like what people deem as false flags. A lot of people look at false flags as like, okay, the government came up with this extravagant sort of complex thing to make something happen. And that's not what the term actually means. It also means if they knew some shit was going to happen and they just decided to not do anything about it, or rather act upon it in a different way. And that's much of what we see right now. So this is why I would say I wouldn't necessarily agree that it's the only question, because whether they did it, whether it was intentional or not, it didn't stop you know, these governments from doing what it is that they did. They saw it as a way to take advantage of it, and they've expanded their powers beyond, I mean, anything imaginable within the last year and a half, and they all used it on the backbone of, oh, well, it's this deadly virus that's out there. So yeah, I get it when it comes to trying to maybe criminalize China and all that. Yeah, people are looking at it to that, but whether they did it accidentally or intentionally, it doesn't stop the authoritarianism, unfortunately.
Exactly. And what is that quote? There's a quote from a famous person, like, don't ever let it get let a good scandal get away.
Go to waste.
Go to waste. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I personally a crisis. Thank you, John. I think it's just, I personally think that I think it was a happy accident for some people. Like it was serendipitous for a lot of people who wanted to make a lot more money. They were like, okay, well, this is our time. Like, so, and they did it. I don't know if it was necessarily like China was like, oh, let's release this virus into the world, because I think that if they were going to do that, they would have done it with a much deadlier virus that actually kind of
IFR fucking of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if they would have done it with a virus with a 99.9% survival rate.
What if you could manufacture, you know, if you could keep manufacturing vaccines and, you know, having people, you know, you create a scenario where they have to keep getting them. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely
create the problem and create the solution. That's basically how it works. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you're really doing a few things all at once, right? Like consolidating power. You know, people are getting rich, and you know they're going to go along. You know, they're going to be like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." I mean, I'll say this: I think the fact that Bill Gates was investing in these vaccines, and he's talking about years. You know, and he's talking about this pandemic. I mean, it's again, I'm not saying one way or the other as if I know for certain. You know, it could be just all a matter of coincidence, but it is like it's just like.
Yeah, well, sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like, absolutely. I mean, sometimes...
Well, the WHO had to concede that, right? Remember, the WHO initially came out and they had said there's no way that this kind of happened in a lab leak and all of that, and it was never like kind of released in the public. And then it was like they wrote it off because remember it was just a bunch of Trump conspiracy theories. And then Dr. Tedros, General Tedros of the WHO had to come out, was it earlier this year? And he was like, all right, China's not cooperating with us right now. And yeah, maybe they did. I worked in labs. Sometimes it happens. I'm like, this is why this whole trust the science shit is bullshit, or these organizations like WHO is the one, if you read the actual medical misinformation by way of YouTube. Those are the people that we're supposed to not go against. It's not that you can't say anything regarding the subject. It's that you can't contradict them is more so what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the same organization that got it wrong on that subject matter. And then, so which WHO are we supposed to listen to, Susan? Which one?
Yeah.
You know,
it's not misinformation when they get it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They get it wrong. It's not misinformation. When the CDC comes out and says, oh, it's not, people aren't catching the virus, they aren't getting sick when they get the jab. That's literal medical misinformation.
The president of the United States said that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
the science evolves, guys.
Yeah,
you know, the science changes. That's science.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, what the fuck are we like? What you're saying to trust the science? Trust the science that always changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like it changes every 5 minutes too. It's
Could
not
you
even
imagine
like, oh, we're actually doing research for like 5 years and telling you our results of what we found out. No, it's like, oh, every 5 minutes it's changing and we're just telling you it too.
But trust
and
it.
you're gonna have to follow it.
Yeah.
Blindly trust. You know, it's like the ground is freaking moving and opening up, and they're like, well, yeah, you can step there. You know, trust it. And yet it's just constantly
Just do
changing.
it. Just do it. Christine the Killer Car, thank you so much for the $5. Says, can't stay long, just wanted to drop by and say hello. Well, hello to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Ruth Saunders, thank you for the 5. Says, most Michael Crichton's books were warning about what happens when scientists get arrogant and out of control. So that's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
200
Watt Studios, thank you for the $2. Says Facebook COVID fact check brought to you by Pfizer.
I love that.
That's good. That's really good. And then there was a couple more here and the chat jumped on me. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. 200 Watt Studios for 5 says, at the good Tom King, exactly, ivermectin not brought to you by Pfizer, the sponsor of CNN, NBC, etc. Therefore, it will be known as horse dewormer.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder. It's I've never seen that freaking like that's like it would be comical if it wasn't true.
Yeah.
I mean, it is comical to some extent. It's just like, don't they fucking connect the dots? Like, don't they see that there's some sort of
there is a spell
involved,
that has
right?
woven. I'm telling you, man, they've executed this totalitarian plan to a T. They have learned from their blueprints of how a totalitarian takeover is, and they're reapplying it to this new way, and it's working. And it's working better than it's ever have before, with the help of social media and everyone like that. Oh man, it's crazy. Double Brewisky, thank you for the 5. Says Bill Gates hosted the Event 201 only months before the pandemic. Event 201 was a demonstration of what happens if a respiratory virus spreads worldwide. Yeah, that was very crazy. The next thing I wanted to kind of share with you guys is I was wondering if you guys had seen this, because this made me laugh a little bit. I was like, what? It says, Green Pass compromise. Adolf Hitler gets COVID certificate as media speculated on whether EU security keys were stolen.
What?
Did you hear about this?
Nah, this is my first time hearing about this shit.
It's freaking nuts. It says an apparently functional EU digital COVID certificate bearing the name of Adolf Hitler has circulated online this week before being invalidated. The incident raises questions about the security of the vaccine passport system. A QR code appeared online on Tuesday, and when scanned with several verification apps, revealed a working EU digital COVID certificate bearing the name Adolf Hitler, born on January 1st, 1900. Several versions of the code were then noticed on tech forums, some with the name capitalized, others with a different birthday, but all would have granted the Führer access to indoor events off limits to the unvaccinated.
That's fucking hilarious.
The story
Hitler can
was
get in, but you can't.
You can't. Hitler
You can't.
can.
The story was picked up by the Italian media, but it is unknown whether the security keys necessary for generating Hitler's QR code where it actually came from. Two Post reported that Hitler's pass had been issued with a key from France, but noted that this information could also have been forged. The the Europe-wide COVID vaccine system works by pairing a public key contained in the QR code and visible to anyone scanning the code with an app, with a private key held by hospitals or other health care providers. Venues checking the validity of someone's COVID pass scan the code and receive a green tick if it matches the private key, or red cross if it does not. As of Wednesday afternoon, the private key used to verify Hitler's pass was revoked, but a Polish user on the tech forum still claimed to be selling working certificates, as did some posters on the so-called dark web. Whether the private key used to validate Hitler's pass was stolen or leaked remains a mystery. Alternatively, a healthcare employee with access to private key could have generated the fake certificate for the Nazi leader.
So it could have been a troll.
It could have been a troll.
It could have been a troll. That's funny. I mean, that's one hell of a troll, is it not?
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. I mean, look, man, I guess it's fortified, just like the election. So you gotta trust that. you gotta trust that. Trust that. No way that can be hacked.
No.
not at all.
Unbelievable.
No.
It's just unbelievable to me that I would not be able to go somewhere and then some dude with a Hitler, Adolf Hitler mask can get into it. I'm like, what?
Oh, this story is fucking hilarious, man. There's a lot of I've been looking at. I mean, I get a lot of emails from people that are from different places, and just when you think the shit's crazy here, you get some story about someone living somewhere else, and there's always something going on there that's like fucking what the fuck, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
or maybe it's like a telling of what's to come here, like maybe what we're seeing in New Zealand and Australia, which is
and Canada.
Yeah, in Canada too. And what the crazy shit they're dealing with is like, they're just examples. I feel like for sure Australia and New Zealand like testing grounds. Those places are fucking weird. They're like extreme right now. Like talking about basically equivalent to concentration camps. You know what I mean? For unvaccinated people, it's insane.
Yep.
And the fact that they haven't overthrown that damn government yet is something else, man. Because those guys are beyond criminal. What's going on?
I mean, it was crazy because they started to protest and stuff like that, and then nothing happened.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, well, okay.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you don't see anybody in the U.S., like a lot of U.S. politicians speaking up, I'm sure there might be a few.
Like one, Massey, maybe that's it.
Yeah, but the fact that like Biden or any of these politicians don't have some form of criticism about what's going on in Australia tells you that they wouldn't mind if that was happening here. In fact, that's what they
Biden
want.
he doesn't even know where he is half the time. Like,
he doesn't
no
even know his name.
Yeah.
He's
gonna start calling himself Brandon here in a second. But it's just like what's going on. I mean, it's like out of 1984. Like we're getting into that territory over there. And Canada too, and the fact that none of these politicians are really speaking up and taking a stand, and I don't know. It
shows you that this is what they are pushing for, and it's just it's incremental. I guess it's a lot more incremental than what we like to believe. But yeah, this is what they're pushing for.
Yeah.
A lot of these people aren't ballsy enough to do something. This is why I appreciate a lot of alternative forms of media that we have out there now, whether it be what we're doing here, or whether it be what guys like Blaze Network and everything that has people that are just calling it for what it is. Because a lot of these talking heads, these politicians are way too milquetoast to actually say what needs to be said and call this shit for what it is. But it's the mincing of words for these people that got us in this situation. You know what I mean? By constantly giving politicians the benefit of the doubt that they're doing what they feel like is in the best interest of the people, and they use that against you. So even if you think that something is up, you don't question it because you're like, well, there has to be a reason, right? Yeah, there is one. It's not the one that you think, but yeah, there's a reason as why they're doing that. There's no reason. These people aren't owed the benefit of the doubt. We're talking among some of the worst people in the world. These guys are not owed any sort of benefit of the doubt. And this is why I don't mess for. I know people don't like it when I talk like that. I call them like pieces of shit and all of that. Like, but that's what they are. Like,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
I cannot miss for words for these types of people.
I know it's sometimes it's funny because sometimes I'll tweet like something like, because I'll get so mad like at something Trudeau says or something like that, and I'm like, fuck you, and I'll just like I'll just tweet that out, and then my mom will give me a talking to, like she'll be like, you are so much more articulate, and you can actually like put him in his place, and then you write this, like this is not nice, and
That's
like,
good
or
enough.
like this, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, but mom, sometimes I get really mad and I just want to like scream and I tell this guy to fuck off. Like, that's the only thing I want to do. I don't want to sit there and start educating people on Twitter about, how what he's saying is, basically a totalitarian regime, and he's describing like the wet dream of a freaking fascist. Like, if you can't see that, and if you yourself are not like fuck you, then there's something wrong with you, because they're taking over our country. They're taking over our lives.
They're old worse. They're lucky. It's just what it is that you're doing, because they're old a lot worse. And that's why they dehumanize us. This is why I'm like, look, I'm gonna treat them exactly. I'm giving them what they deserve, exactly what they deserve. So when I call them out their names, or I call them, like, do not forget about the crimes of these people. Like, we're talking about among some of the worst. This is the literal criminal class. That's the true criminal class of people. There's no reason to talk as if they are owed the benefit of the doubt when we know that they're bad people. No reason to do that.
Yeah, they talk about terrorists too. They talk about like, normal citizens, like parents being, the terrorist or the insurrect. The reality is the greatest threat to this country is them. Like, if anybody's the terrorist, it's them.
100%.
100.
It's all. It's funny. Everything they project, everything these people ever say, it's projection.
It's so much projection.
Yep.
You know what's funny about Trudeau, though? Not to really stay on this for too long, but I don't know if Young Rippa, you've probably seen this, how he has bought up Canada, right? I mean, really the taxpayer, right? They bought vaccines up to 2024. I don't know if you heard. Yeah,
for like $19.5 million or something like that, or like some ridiculous
some outrageous number. Yeah, which shows. I mean, if that isn't enough to wake people up, like. They want to perpetuate.
Yeah, they want to keep it under can. We'll continue to get kicked down the road. That's just showing you that.
Yeah, it's like originally, right? We're trying. The idea was like, we want to get back to normal. He literally told you in action, yeah, we're not getting back to normal.
No,
not on the table. Yeah, exactly. He deserves the whatever the fuck he gets, man. That's for fucking sure. But that guy's a bad person, man. That's all I got. They're bad people. Like,
they're bad people.
That's what I'm trying to get people to realize. Like, people have been conditioned. Maybe it's the public education system. I don't know what it is, but they've been conditioned that we treat that class of people as if they're like above it all. You know what I mean? So that type of discontent that you would have for your neighbor for doing some fucked up shit, you don't have that with the politicians. You don't have that with the government official. You don't have that with them. And I'm like, why? They're the ones with power. You know what I mean? So they're worse. They're worse. It's one thing for me and my neighbor to get into it. It's another thing for some idiot dictator asshole to want to apply whatever he wants to an entire region. You know what I mean? A region with millions upon millions of people that exist there. They're worse. They're worse because their power is attached to the things it is that they advocate. So if the like, I don't know, I walk down the street or something, and someone was like, I don't like the fact that you wear hats or some shit like that, I say, well, shit, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean anything. But the government says, no, I don't like the fact that you wear hats. I'm going to mandate that you don't fucking wear hats. You know, it's a little different.
Half the population.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's different when it comes from them. So that's why it's worse. Why are they owed the benefit of the doubt when they are the bad people here? Like, don't look at that institution as if they are above it all. And this is all unlearning that I had to do as well. They were sworn in, they're elected, and they're all this sort of shit. That's for the betterment of the people. Like, no, fuck them. They're bad. They're bad.
Yeah, the same thing with like scientists and doctors. It's like, yeah, they went to school and like whatever, but like, dude, some of them are bad people and they're bad doctors. I mean, whatever happened to getting a second opinion like that? It's like as if that's not a thing anymore, you know?
Apparently.
Speaking of great school systems, though, mom to sue school after son vaccinated without consent. This happened in Louisiana.
School that That's a joke because I'm coming to put the mitts on whoever it was. So they're gonna have to, I'm gonna be in jail for sure.
I know, right? Like, I mean, if this happened to my kid,
I'm putting balls on people, bro. Like it ain't no funning around.
That's
an insane story though. On a serious note, that's fucking insane. That's insane.
Yeah, let's watch the video so I don't have to read the article.
A mom from Kenner may soon be squaring up in court against Jefferson Parish Public Schools for what happened at East Jefferson High on Wednesday. Jennifer Ravane says her 16-year-old son received the COVID-19 vaccine without her consent when an Auctioner mobile vaccination clinic rolled in and allowed him to sign the consent form himself underage.
And that's a minor? Oh my fucking God.
Situation.
He was a minor.
They're
like again, these are evil people, guys. Like this is comic book villain shit. You know what I mean? Like this is like, do people not understand what the fuck just happened? A minor was fucking vaccinated against the will of the parents.
They didn't even know.
That's insane.
They had no idea. He goes home and he's like, I got vaccinated.
So what did he do? He signed the form himself?
Yeah. And then they gave it to him.
Yeah, and they gave it to him.
A nightmare. Other underage students got the shot too. Writing to Eyewitness News, quote, the egregious and reckless actions of Auctioner and East Jefferson High School went well beyond any legal and moral bounds and at a minimum constitute a battery upon the minor child. The attorney says he's exploring every avenue to hold Auctioner and the district accountable. As outlined by the Louisiana Department of Health, a parent's signature is required for anyone under 18 who wants the shot. Auctioner Health System apologized for the misstep at East Jeff and says it's revising its school vaccination program, writing, quote, we have procedures in place to ensure that all policies are followed. However, in this instance, this did not occur. We have taken immediate action to review our on-site vaccination policies and to ensure that these policies will be strictly enforced moving forward. Jefferson Parish Public Schools did not respond to multiple requests to answer questions or comment, but may soon have to answer to Ravane's attorney. Devin Bartolotta, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, I guess that person will be better than me because I'm about to rock bottom someone through a table. Like, if that's something that would happen to my child, like you just, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what's up with this walk? Like, what's up with this? Like, this is how bad they want to jab kids now. They have a mobile
do it under the table
through your high school. That's like, what the hell?
Yeah, people were asking where this is. This is in Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana. Yeah,
Louisiana department.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fucking. That's.
It's insane. I mean, from like, we're giving out free burgers to
donuts.
Let me just
$100.
Yeah, the lotteries.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on, man? Like it just gets more and more crazier, and it's like, God forbid you question it. Then you the bad. Well, I guess if you're among a bunch of idiots, you're seen as the irrational bad person because you just question this shit when you like, they're forcing or rather vaccinating people, not even going to the consent of the parent or in it. Like come on, man. Like this is insane, man.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're gonna come to the PTA and complain anyway, so might as well just vaccinate their kids. We'll just get ahead of the curve here.
That is, like I say, someone would have had to get punched in the mouth. Like, I'm getting dragged out of that. I'm getting dragged out of that school for sure.
Dude, that's what happened to that guy, when he found out his little girl,
daughter,
what happened to his little girl.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there like,
they're like, oh, well, whoops, it was a mistake, or we'll bury it and act like it. This is why, look, man, I know this is the subject where I know I lose a lot of people. Get your kids the fuck out them schools, man.
I've been saying that, Eric.
I've been saying this for a very long time. Now people are starting to wake up. But the old saying is, you cannot hand your children off to Caesar and not expect them to come out as Romans. A lot of this crookedness in which we see was facilitated by way of the public education system.
Yeah,
that's just not my opinion. That's what it is. A lot of unlearning that you're doing as an adult is shit that was embedded in your head when you were a sponge, basically, at that young age. But you see all this crazy stuff that's going on. Get them out. I know that it sounds like, well, it's easier for you to say, or I get all that. But there are alternatives. Definitely, if you live in America, there are alternatives that aren't as expensive as you might think, be it neighborhood co-ops and homeschooling And although even I don't know where people got off to thinking that all private schools were like these $20,000 a year schools. They're not. There are alternatives, and I'd encourage you to look into them. But dropping your children off to the enemy consistently is an issue. Like that's why they are so. You want to wonder why they're so protective of that institution. That's why, because they have access to the minds of an entire generation of people. So the question that I ask is, if you know all of this corrupt, evil shit is going on in these institutions, and yet you still drop that kid off there, at what point in time, this is a serious question, at what point in time does that become child abuse? I'm asking that sincerely. I'm not even trying to speak in hyperbolic terms. If you know it's jacked, you still drop them off there. At what time do you say, okay, that would be child abuse, negligent or something, but you're not doing something that's conducive to actually for that child, really. So my advice, get them the fuck up out there and do everything that you can to do it, because they're getting more and more crazier. I was reading a story this morning about some of this sort of sexual shit that they got these children on out of some school. Like the mayor of some city is also like a principal at the school, and they had this like fucking
I think I heard it.
Some like what they used to call those. I can't call them like a pep rally or something like that, but whatever, people, all the kids gather up in the gym and shit. And they were doing some like
assembly.
Yeah, assembly. That's the term that I'm looking for. It's getting crazier and crazier. Get them out.
Get them out.
Yeah,
I've been saying that too, man.
It's
crazy.
I mean, in the same way, would you send? And maybe this seems hyperbolic, but at the same time, I think the parallel is true. Like, would you send your kid off to a cult?
Exactly.
To get brainwashed?
Exactly.
Like day in and day out? Because, I saw an article where somebody, it was one of these, like an editorial, like, parents shouldn't have the right to choose. Like what the
that's what I think the government, we're talking about this Virginia situation. I think that's what he was saying as well. He's like, parents don't have the right to decide what we're teaching a kid. I'm like, what the fuck?
Who the fuck are you guys? Like they're power tripping hard. Like these people really, like, they think they know better than you. Like they think they're better than you. They think they're smarter than you. They think they have the right to tell you how to live your life. That's how insane and narcissistic these psychos are. I mean, when I saw that, I'm just like there is something fundamentally
they're
wrong
cocky
here.
Now that they're telling on themselves with that shit. They're getting more and more emboldened. Like, used to be, okay, we hide it in the textbook and all of that. Now they're like bold.
They're so bold. They're just posting about it on TikTok. They're
they're
let me tell you about how to brainwash your kids all day.
Child, like, what? Like, get them out. Get them out. Get them out, because you see, they're beyond repair. This is why I advocate so much for abolition of them and trying to keep money in the taxpayer, like the parents, so they can decide what school their child is going to, instead of them being stolen from.
What educational method?
It's all jacked up. Like the entire public education system in itself, not even from just the like what we're talking about from a curriculum standpoint.
Doctrinal.
Everything is jacked up about it. So,
everything, like CRT and just like the school curriculum now. Like, I mean, they're not teaching like literature anymore, because they don't want to teach books that have the N-word in them. Like, they're like, we're not gonna teach To Kill a Mockingbird anymore. Like, we're not gonna do this anymore. Revisionist history. It's just like, okay, we don't have a good curriculum. We have CRT, and we have COVID while your little kid is getting masked and shit, and then or like getting arrested for not getting
that's happening. It's a literal prison. It's a prison. Let's call it what it is. It's a prison. It's a prison for children. It's a prison for skin. Like, this is like, I grew up, I was in the, I don't know if you, John as well, like, but the American public education system.
Oh yeah.
They teach you that, the homeschool kids are the weird ones, right? The socialization that they don't have. And I was like, I was thinking about this, like, do you really get legitimate socialization in public school anyway? No, you don't. Because think about it. When you go to school, what? You go to school in a period of class, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. One period one or whatever. And depending on what that period is, you go to a classroom and basically you sit down, you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? You sit down, shut up. You go to, you know, you got 5 minutes or whatever. You go to the next period and you do the same thing. So the socialization that you get is like between class, lunch, and maybe an extracurricular activity. All of those that you don't need a public education system. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, what are they talking about with this lack of socialization? Or you get socialization just because you're going to a public school? Like the old saying is, Michael Malice brings this up all the time. The only place for a lot of us that you'll ever experience violence is in the public education system. Like that's serious. Like a lot of y'all can say probably in the chat, probably never had to deal with anything physically as an adult, but you did in school. Why is that? You got this story coming out. It might have been out with somebody. We're just talking about Louisiana.
I saw that one.
Louisiana. You got all these kids fighting and shit. And then you had these dads that tried to come in and try to get all these cats to try to calm the fuck down.
That's going to be my highlight story this week on Infinite.
Yeah, so that's showing you how jacked that system is. They don't got it's a literal prison for children. I say this as someone who's been in jail. It's a lot. It's serious, man. It's a lot of similarities in that regards, man. Like, just get them out.
Well, it's designed after a prison system.
That's
Did you
true.
ever see
That's
that? Did you ever see that video? It's gotten a lot of views. It's like a cartoon video about what the school system is based on. That was a
the
really
RSA.
good video. Yeah. I had a clip of it.
Well, isn't it based off of the it's trying to train up, wasn't the
Prussian,
school system originally to train up assembly workers, assembly line workers?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
So they're training you to be compliant. Even the foundation of school itself is training people to be compliant.
Yeah.
Don't question anything. Do as you're told. I mean, I guess it makes sense why a lot of people. I think that's just stuck for a lot, and if you do good, you get a good grade or you get the you get the reward. And, I mean, it's just training up compliant people. Thankfully I was never a big fan of school.
Me
either. I did
me
not
either.
do well there.
I was a knuckle. And that's what I think about it. Cause I grew up a gangbanging. So I look at why would I want my child anywhere near motherfuckers like me growing up? No, understanding the type of stuff that I was doing growing up, I wouldn't want my child anywhere near that shit. You had knuckleheads like me that I didn't need a good reason to get into a fight. Hell, I went to school looking for them. You know what I mean? I went to school looking. That's how crazy I was. And I'm like, why would I want my child to be around people like me at that age? You know what I mean? Now it's amplified with all this crap that they're teaching them, man. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a Darwinian situation. School is survival of the fittest. Like you said, I mean, in terms of the only time people are going to get into a fight, you don't really experience, you're never going to experience that in the work world, your adult life.
True.
But it is the closest thing you get to being thrown into a jungle is the public school system. It is literally
especially the American public school system with the nowadays with the freaking metal detectors and I mean it's like going through the TSA, just to go to school.
It's a prison, man.
It's freaking nuts. Mags, thank you so much for the 5. Says, as a Virginian, that Terry McAuliffe quote is real. He's terrible. Get your kids out of public school, homeschool. I agree with you, man. I've been saying that for a long time.
That's how cocky they are. And they say you don't have a right to know basically what they're teaching your children. They think that they have rights to them.
Yeah. Yeah, they think they own your kids.
Yeah,
that's why. That's the other thing. That's why they want to vaccinate the kids, because when you get vaccinated with this mRNA stuff, and this is stuff YouTube doesn't like talk about, but that's you're basically owned by the corporation. And literally put a code in your body that says you're owned by this pharmaceutical company that gave it to you. So I mean, it makes there's so much stuff going on. Mags, thank you so much for the 5. Says, I think Carter from the Unsafe Space also said Our public school system is based on the German school system at the time of its inception.
At minimum, you have to concede that it's outdated. I mean,
it is very outdated.
Like even if you like, we at least have to concede that, right? That it's outdated. It makes no definitely with the how fast information spreads. You know what I mean? Like these people are largely wasting their fucking time. These kids in these educational systems. It's sad, man. I hate to see it.
It's really crazy.
Like, did school do any favors for you guys in terms of like bringing you up for the real world? Or
no.
Like,
everything that I learned that was valuable, I learned outside of it. I'd say this all the time. There was I remember a teacher of mine told me specifically that if I did not go to college, then I would risk maybe having to be a garbage man. At no point in time was this information told to me until I was an adult that I learned that the garbage man makes more than her as a teacher. I didn't know that. I thought it was, but that's this type of stuff. They funnel you into like the more advanced indoctrination camp, the university. And that's all like for a lot of us that grew up, maybe if you grew up way back in the gap, but if you grew up like an I did, like 90s and 2000s, it wasn't like trades or other options were even presented as if that was a legitimate option. It was like that was just college. No matter what it is that you, if you gravitated towards that or not, no matter what it was that you learned, it was always college, not the understanding that there's a whole slew of other jobs that actually are more reliable because they're always going to be needed. You're always going to need electricians. You're always going to need plumbers. You're always going to need these types of people. And yet they would demonize that type of work as if it were like not legitimate. You know what I mean? So like and it's sad. Like I go through all of that curriculum, all those different nonsensical classes that I taught, and there's maybe one that was most valuable to me, and it was like a radio class that I took, considering what I do right now, that I could sit there and think, and I'm like, well, shit, if I spent most of my time doing that, this would have been able to catch on, but I had to learn a lot of what I knew about it, had to learn about radio after the fact and on my own. And a lot of people can say that it's not prepare you for the real world at all, which is why a lot of what they teach you is fluff. It's fluff. It's nonsense. It's stuff that they teach you is memorization, right? It's like, I memorized this, and largely you forget the shit. You know,
the second you're out, it's done.
And then you're done with it. You know what I mean?
In one ear, out the other.
And the thing is, the more you regurgitate what they tell you, the better the result you get, right?
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
it's like you actually get all the answers that they want you to get right. You know, you just spit it back out, you get an A, you know? And so all of a sudden you're rewarded for literally just perpetuating what they, you know, it doesn't foster free thought, critical thought, anything like that. It just manufactured, like they want a certain type of, you know, and that's where, I mean, there's that could be a whole show in itself.
Yeah. Like for me, like thinking about what you just asked, John, like there was a couple classes that I did really like what was valuable to me, like stuff like home ec and like, you know, shop and the metal work, stuff like that, like stuff like hands-on classes.
Which is almost removed if you're like my
all
this
gone.
Shit's not even in school.
It doesn't even exist anymore. That stuff is gone. And then the other class that really did help me with my life now was my English lit class, where like in a you know, grade 10, when we had a social study teacher that like there was like a, you know, the school wasn't paying enough, so all the teachers had a strike or whatever, so that everybody had to take care of other classes. So my history teacher became my English teacher, and he was like, instead of you know, you guys reading Lord of the Flies, we're gonna read freaking Animal Farm in this class. And that class did teach me a lot, because I didn't know anything about Animal Farm, and like the first time I read it, I was like, what kind of freaking animal story is this? Like I couldn't figure it out until you know, it taught me those kind of lessons. But those kind of things are not being, I don't think anyone's reading freaking 1984 or Animal Farm in school anymore,
I wonder how
man.
much of that's in public
You know?
school now.
No. Joker Voice, thank you so much for the $5. Says, help Young Rippa. As a former school teacher, I agree. Get out of public schools. Been libertarian for years. And what?
Anarcho.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Anarcho-capitalist is making more sense.
I love to hear that. Yeah, man. They say the difference between that and an anarcho-capitalist is 6 months. That's all it takes. Is what they say. So I love to absolutely hear that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of former, teachers, the same thing. My criticism like militaristic stuff. A lot of former veterans, they agree with us, and because they saw it firsthand. You know what I mean? Some of the most prominent libertarian voices are former, like people that have been in these systems themselves, and they're like, "Fuck."
Yeah, I was a teacher too.
Exactly. So it's like you're like, nah, don't do it, don't do it. So yeah, I love that's I guess the one positive thing that you can say came out of this shit in the last year and a half is so many people are starting to pay more attention to that, and they're starting to see how rotten that the public education system is now more than ever. It's a great opportunity that we have.
Let's capitalize on it, though, and get those fuckers out.
Exactly. That's it. We got to turn it into action, though. Exactly.
Yeah, we got to do something. Speaking moistly, thank you so much for the $20. Speaking moistly says, the public school system is based on a Prussian system to make good little soldiers for the states. The semester system and summer break is based on old, outdated crap to go work on the farm. It's archaic. That's true. That's all true.
Really outdated, severely.
Blue-eyed Scorpio, thank you so much for the $4.99. Says, wish I would have got into the HVAC trade in my 20s. Some parts of the job can get a couple of grand for a day's work. Wow.
Yeah, man, those trades, man. Again, they were never presented to me as an option. That's what sucked. And I know it's like that for a lot of other people as well, because it doesn't encourage that. So when you look at HVAC and you look, these are jobs that are not going anywhere, dude. Like there's always going to be necessary, and they make a lot of money.
Well, and that's the thing, though, Eric. Like one of the things that I remember happened with the 2008 crash when that happened. So a lot of the people started going into nursing because they knew that nursing is going to be like a stable job. Right. And now you have these uncaring nurses and all these uncaring people because they knew that was going to be the stable job that gives them a paycheck. And they just went into it thinking that they're going to, earn a paycheck. And now like half the nurses are psychopaths because they're like,
I learned so
no
much
care
about them this year, man. Holy shit. Looking at the fucking, like definitely with them dancing and pop locking and shit on TikTok at the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah, I feel some kind of way about them now. But yeah,
like some no bedside manner whatsoever. There's just like the most horrible people, and you're like, dude, you're a nurse. Like you're supposed to care about people.
Yeah, they're not good people. But yeah, like seriously, like, and that's what sucks about it so much is that it's a lot of wasted time and effort. It's treated more as this like glorified daycare for parents. That I guess that's one thing. Again, I say this all the time. I learned about that. A lot of people don't like their own fucking children. I've learned certainly that. This past year and some change, but yeah, just on a serious note, it does not at all prepare. Public education does not prepare you for that sort of stuff. And the blue-eyed Scorpio's point is like that knowledge base, it's just not there because you don't know any better. And a lot of us that were funneled through the public education system never even saw that as an alternative because that's not what they teach you. They teach you what they're trying to do is funnel you into higher education, and they act like everything that is good must be done through higher education. And again, we are individuals at the end of the day. It's the core philosophy of what libertarianism is about. So yeah, something may make sense for someone else, but for a lot of us, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like going through that. I say this as a guy that went through college. I was a collegiate athlete. Most of that shit was a waste of my goddamn time. Most of what I gained about the real world, I learned from being an athlete, not being in fucking college. But seriously, like you don't even learn about those being a legitimate alternative because a lot of those are shunned because you don't. Like you go to a trade school, it's not as expensive as going to a university. You're not there nearly as long. You can come out learning some very valuable skills that are going to net you a job that is worth a damn, and the benefits are going to be great and all that. But it's not even presented as an alternative for a lot of people. It's college, and that's the only thing that exists. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of talented people that probably should be doing something else. They got funneled by the public education system, got funneled into doing some like office job that they're fucking miserable at.
Yep.
I believe it.
Now, Eric, before I move on to the next topic, I would like to know like how you are for time, because I could talk all night with you.
I got
So
a
I just
little more time. Like it's got about basically to midnight my time. So we got some time.
okay.
I'm
So you're
central,
good.
so yeah.
Are you central?
Yeah, I'm central. I'm central.
Okay,
yeah.
same time as me. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
we're good. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we're good.
So
Nina's
like
dreams have just come true. No.
I'm like, oh my god, okay. So that's good. I just don't want to like talk your head off, because
Nah,
I know
you're good.
I can
You're
be
good.
like that.
It's all
So
good.
there was this other thing that I thought was kind of funny when Putin came and just kind of slammed everyone on the West, saying that wokeness is destroying the West. It happened in Russia. It's evil and it destroys values. Did you hear about this?
No, this is my first time hearing about this.
So he came out and he said this. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is totally based a lot of times, slammed during a speech on Thursday the far left woke ideology that said that is causing societal ills throughout the Western world, saying that it's no different than what happened in Russia in during the 1917 revolution. Putin made the remarks during a plenary session of the 18th annual meeting of the Valady International Discussion Club in Sochi, where the topic was global shakeup in the 21st century. Putin's remarks were translated by the interpreter that the video was uploaded to the Russian government's website. We see the bemusement, the paralysis unfolding in countries that have grown accustomed to viewing themselves as a flagship of progress, Putin said during an event where he spoke for a few hours. Of course, it's none of our business or what is happening. The social and cultural shocks that are happening in some of the countries, in the Western countries. Some believe that aggressive blotting out of whole pages of your own history, the affirmative action in the interest of minorities, and the requirements to renounce the traditional interpretation of such basic values as mother, father, family, and the distinction between sexes are milestone, a renewal of society.
Say what you will about Putin. That I mean, yeah, I've maybe been critical of, Russia, going Russia, but about that subject, or what he just said, is 100% correct.
He's dead on, man.
He's dead. Like there ain't a lie in that statement. There's not a lie in there. Like, absolutely, no. Specifically that latter half, talking about renouncing traditional interpretation of basic values and mother, father. That's dead on. That's exactly what we're dealing with right now. 100%.
I think that the preparedness of the so-called societal progress believe that the bringing a new a new consciousness to humanity, something that is more correct, Putin said. But there is one thing I would like to say: the recipes they came up with they came up with are nothing new. Paradoxical as it may seem, but this is something we saw in Russia. It happened in our country before and after the 1917 revolution. The Bolshevik, I can't reach
Bolsheviks,
thank you, followed the dogmas of Marx and Engels. And they also declare that the world would go into change in traditional lifestyle, the political, the economical lifestyle, as well as the very notion of morality, the basic principles of healthy society. They were trying to destroy age and century-long values, revisiting the relationship between the people. They were encouraging information on one's own beloved and families. It was hailed as the march of progress, and it was very popular across the world, and it was supported by many. As we see it, it is happening right now. Yeah. Incidentally, the Bolsheviks were absolutely intolerant of other opinions differing from their own, Putin continued. I think this should remind you of something that is happening. And we see what is happening in the Western countries. It is with puzzlement that we see the practices Russia used to have, and that we left behind in the distant path. The fight for equality and against discrimination turns into an aggressive dogmatism on the brink of absurdity, when a great authors of the past, such as Shakespeare, are no longer taught in schools and university because they announced as backwards classic that did not understand the importance of gender or race. I mean, this guy just keeps going.
This is all real talk.
This is real talk right here.
Hey, Putin, can you come over? Just take Joe Biden's place, please.
I mean, it's kind of crazy because like some of the comments I was reading about this, like on the, especially like the hardcore like anti-Russia guys, like are like, how is like Putin making sense? And, like, where is like what the hell? Like, what is this happening? How are enemies like? Which what I still find really bizarre when I read like Americans say like Russia is the enemies, because you guys haven't been in a war since a long time ago. I don't think that they're your enemies anymore. Like the Cold War. So like whenever like I hear stuff like that, I find it like really bizarre language, but I mean, that's what it is. In Hollywood, there are leaflets reminding what you should do in a cinema, in the films, how many personalities and actors you've got, what kind of color, what sex, and sometimes it's even tighter and stricter than what the Department of Propaganda of the Soviet Communist Party Central Committee did, he said. And the fight against racism, which is a lofty goal, turns into a new culture, cancel culture, and into reverse discrimination, racism on the obverse. And it brings people apart. Whereas the true fighters for civic rights, they were trying to eliminate those differences. I asked my colleagues to find this quote from Martin Luther King and said, "I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will be not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That is true value." The Bolsheviks were speaking about nationalizing not just the property, but also women, Putin continued. The proponents of new approaches go so far as they want to eliminate the whole notions of men and women, and those who dare say that men and women exist, and this is a biological fact, they are all but banished. Parent number one, parent number two, and the parent that has given birth, or instead of breast milk, you'll have human milk, and you say all of that. So the people who are not sure of their sexual agenda are not unhappy. And I would like to say this is not something new. And the 20s and the 1920s in Soviet culture, Tagore came up with the so-called newspeak, and they thought that thereby they were building a new consciousness and coming up with new values, and they went so far as that we feel consequences up until now. He concluded on the matter, there are some monstrous things when from a very young age you teach children that the boy can easily become a girl, and you impose to them this selection, this choice. You push the parents aside and make the child take his decisions and can destroy their lives. And if we call the spade a spade, this night to crime against humanity, and all of that under the banner of progress, while some people just want to do that. And,
that is that's crazy that it came from Putin. That's interesting. Because that's all that is true. I did a video, if anybody wants to check that out. It's called Yes, the Nazis Were Socialists. And I talk about specifically that point in history where he's talking about, for those that don't know, when he's talking about the Bolsheviks, that were the most dominant socialistic ideology in comparison to the Mensheviks, this is why it's hilarious that I hear people say, well, Hitler couldn't be a socialist because he didn't like other socialists, when Russia literally, we look at the founding of the basically USSR, it came about socialists beefing with each other, during that term. And then
my socialism's better than your
exactly.
Exactly.
What it was. And then you're talking about right here with the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, and why Trotsky got outed and all of that was literally a bunch of fucking they weren't all Marxists, but a bunch of communist socialistic. They were used as basically same terms back then anyway, but they were beefing with each other and they didn't like each other. But yeah, like a lot of what we see when we talk about what actual Marxism is, and it's war basically against what already exists and what is deemed as traditional, to really destabilize what already exists. These are all, everything of what he said is true. And yes, everything of what he said happened obviously in Russia. And these are the same kind of mistakes that you see are being repeated right now throughout America's history, albeit a little different, maybe of a different flavor, but it's the same shit and it's the same ultimate goal. So yeah, that's insane. That of all people that says this shit is fucking.
Yeah, this is Eric.
Putin.
This is what's going on with the world. Is
Yeah.
that like every other week somebody comes out that I'm like, seriously, this person,
This
like
person said
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah,
Kyrie
right.
Irving.
Kyrie,
And now we
yep.
got freaking Putin coming
Yeah,
out and saying like shit
exactly.
that makes sense. And I'm like, what
the
is
hell
going
on?
in
Truly,
this
we
world?
are in a completely different fucking realm right now.
Anybody want to take any guesses who the next person's gonna be?
Yeah, like who's gonna be next?
Yeah, who
I'm very
knows?
curious about the
knows,
person
man?
next. It's so funny.
But
It's like, who's
seriously, yeah,
taking
look
bets?
into that, and you know, it's
I
all of
will.
what's been said has already been, all of what's being done has already been done.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
something
why
to pay attention
that's
to.
why I wanted you to check out that political ponerology book
Yeah.
too, because that one also highlights like, and it's exactly all the stuff that you're talking about, all the, you know, what happened with Poland and the Hitler's takeover of basically the entire Europe and how he did it, all that stuff, and what happens like with when you have school systems teaching basically psychopathic terminology and knowledge and all that stuff and getting it passed down generation to generations. It is actually kind of like a disease.
Yeah,
So
most definitely.
It's crazy stuff. Now, like, I mean, this stuff is like what he's exactly talking about is what's going on with like Dave Chappelle and Netflix right now, like with the whole that group being so protected over like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's kind of really nuts.
Stupid. It none of it makes sense. And but yeah, thankfully, you know, Dave hasn't. He said literally that he wasn't going to bend a knee, which is awesome. That's how you got to treat these folks, man. I mean, you know, this is why I advocate so much for some sort of independence in like from an economic standpoint with yourself, because you can do that. It's a lot more difficult. Yeah, go public education, right? Doesn't teach you to do any of that shit. Because it's funny, even to this day, you get people that say, I don't have a real job. And it's like, if I was doing the same thing that I was doing right now and I was stuffed in a cube to some medical, like some big mega corporate entity, nobody would question if I had a real job. I had some fake title or whatever, but I did the same exact thing. Nobody would question if I had a real job. It's only when you work for yourself and you sort of sustain yourself, you're able to sustain yourself, or you don't have some real job. But what he's showing is that that's how you have to deal with that group of people, or really any group of people that are coming to just be mad at something so nonsensical and trivial that you just say fuck it. And it's actually forcing him in itself to be more independent, which I like as well, because he was talking about that documentary that he wants to put out, and all of those film festivals and all these different films, they don't want to take on the documentary, so he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna put it out myself. Like, well, there you go.
I like how Ben Shapiro came out like the shameless
Yeah,
about himself, and he's like, "Hey man, look over here. We'll take you." So great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did see that. But no,
wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Oh man, that would break
funny.
internet. But yeah, but that's what's encouraged. Like just detaching ourselves from what it is. That's how I'm doing the comic book stuff for what it is that they control, and maybe even having to come up with like a parallel economy, because you're seeing, we know their motives. We know what it is they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy, and they're trying to use what they can. They move from brand to brand, trying to use what it is that they can to promote whatever filth or garbage it is that they advocate. Man, we got fucking this hell in the past 2 months. We got gay Tim Drake and gay fucking John Kent. We got trans Amazons.
Everybody.
It's all fucked.
They're turning the whole DC universe.
Everybody's gay.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's all fucked.
It's like Lex Luthor literally grabbed like the gay gun and started like shooting it at people, and it's literally like everybody's gay now. It's like, I don't get it.
None of it makes sense. But that's what they're trying to do. That's all a purposeful intent. When you look at definitely like the people that are in control over there now, and this is why I believe like we're gonna have to come up with like some sort of parallel economy. We got.
Oh, John, are you sharing?
I don't know
something?
if you saw. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, Eric. Did you?
I didn't see this. What is this?
Nice. I like this.
Oh,
somebody added EVS, but you got Superman. He's just strolling down the street with his costume, sees DC Comics.
He turns into.
It's like
Yep. Let it burn, man. At this point, that's what you have to do. Just let that. I'm done trying to, like, for the first time. I think people understand the significance of that. For the first time, like, ever since I got back into comics as an adult, you know, because I was too broke to like purchase comics when I was in college. But as an adult, like, I don't have a pull list. And that's for people that know me as the mega fan that I am, and the mounds upon mounds of short and long boxes that I had. That's unheard of. But that's how much I'm done with these cats. Like, I'm like,
yeah, no, I get that, man. I mean, they got nothing. What are they giving you? They're not giving you anything. If you're spending money on them, that's on you.
Yeah,
like, because you know, don't spend money on them, because then this is what I say about, like, you know, Disney and like Disney Star Wars and all these effort, like these people who destroyed the things that we love, or like Star Trek. I'm like, what are you doing watching it? Like, just don't watch it anymore, and then they'll stop making it because you don't have any interest. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, the only thing that I've like basically kept up with right now is like Marvel, like the cinematic universe. Like I'm keeping up with it because I have a channel, and I'm just, you know, I'm talking about it here. But otherwise, I mean, Star Wars is dead to me, man. Like, you couldn't pay me to talk about Star Wars right now. Like, it is dead. It's gone. It is a horse that's being beaten to death, and I'm never going back to that shit. Dune is the way now. By the way, have you seen Dune?
I have not seen it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, but
I saw it. It took me a few sittings. I was pretty tired though, so it wasn't because it was boring. It was just because I was tired. So it took me like 3 times to get through the movie, but I did get through it.
Did you like it?
It was good. I mean, I tweeted, it's like, I feel like it's an act 1, like it's just an introduction. Like, I feel like, well, I don't think it should just be, I don't know if they plan on doing just 2 movies. It feels like it should be like 3 or 4 movies. I don't know. We'll see.
I want as much as he's willing to give. Just give us more Dune. I don't really care.
Well, it's gonna have to do better at the box
office.
But
I know it's gonna, like, they've already gotten part 2, and he's already said that he wants to do Dune Messiah, whatever it's called. I forget what he said. He wants to do that for the 3rd movie, and so there's gonna be a lot of Dune content.
Okay.
But back to DC for a moment. This popped up in my feed today, and I was like, this would be perfect to kind of close out the show with you. So Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod superhero project lands Darnell. I don't know who these people are. Do you know the?
I have no idea who neither one of those guys are.
To adapt for HBO Max. So Darnell and Josh Peters. Okay. So they're set to write Val Zod, the HBO adaptation with Michael B. Jordan's Outlier. Society is producing DC for DC Entertainment. I already heard you sigh.
Not interested.
You're not interested? Like, off the bat, you're
not
like,
interested
no.
in Black Superman. Just not interested.
I'm not interested either, because like, to me, Superman is, you know,
Clark Kent. That's the only one that exists. That's it.
That's it.
It's just him. This whole black. I didn't like Calvin Ellis. Didn't like Val Zod. I thought both of them were corny as shit. Whole Earth 2 shit was really corny as far as I'm concerned, but especially Val Zod. But this is par for the course with what DC is attempting to do right now. And that's tokenize virtually everybody. And because, you know, it happened, it worked with Marvel and Miles Morales, so they're gonna keep doing this shit. I'm not interested in this shit at all. Like, I did get a lot of emails about this, like, I don't know anything about those people that they named, but I'm especially not interested in Val Zod. And I guess there's a semi confirming what his involvement was, because we didn't know at first. It was like, oh, Michael B. Jordan's doing this. Is he playing Val Zod? Is it a Calvin Ellis? Is it Black Superman? Is it not? What is it? So yeah, we know that it's some Val Zod shit. So I'm especially not interested. He's actually the worst of the 2, probably. And I'm not interested of any tokenized Superman. That bores me to death. Bores me to fucking death.
Yeah, it's weird too, because when, like, last week we that dude was a Tom, whatever his name is, the little bitch on Twitter that was blocking everybody, including me, who made that gay Superman. He's like,
Tom Taylor.
Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, like, here's my Superman cover, and I'm like, dude, your Superman cover is bullshit, because he's a superhero. who should be flying around, like, you know, actually fixing shit other than like protesting. Like, this
Climate
is shit like
change
regular people would do, not like, you know.
Yeah.
And then he blocked me immediately.
Yeah, he blocked me. I told him, I said, let this company die. And yeah, like, he blocked me like immediately after that. Fuck that guy.
We're all
Like,
blocked.
you know how like that shows you just what DC and what their efforts are. The day that they announced that he already has a Superman like with a rainbow, like the S on the chest with the rainbow fucking shit
The
on
S,
it. Like
yeah.
on the S. It's like, dude, you're telling me exactly why you're doing this, man. Like Valzai, for example, was only implemented just to be fucking on Earth 2, being a black version of Superman, got the same similar shit. It's like, dude, I'm bored of this. Like, I'm just not interested. Like, these guys are so out of ideas, so talentless that they think a fucking palette swap of what we already seen is something that's gonna make people. And yeah, to be fair, they're gonna be like weirdos with stand accounts on Twitter that are gonna love eat this shit up. Everybody's gonna be a Valzai expert overnight. I've been talking about this motherfucker since he came out, and I was like, he's bad, he's terrible idea. But everybody's an expert. Everybody's gonna love Valzai, and I'm just bored to fucking death. Like, this is
white Superman's hard to care about after a while. Like, he's not the most interesting and intriguing character after a while.
Right. It's like when I see stuff like this, it just gets me more excited about everything that I'm doing. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. This is what
I gotta compete against. I think I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah, I know, right?
Seriously.
Like, that's what happens with like whenever I look at some of the art that they're putting out too, especially from Marvel.
It's
like
bad.
on Marvel's like, oh my god,
They're
it's so
hiring people
bad.
like MS Paint.
I went.
I know, right?
I don't know who
MS
the fuck
Paint
they're
shit.
hiring over. They're terrible. They're fucking terrible.
Like, what? You know, I feel like it's you've seen those memes like where it's like, men, what happened? You know, you've got like freaking like the 1950s guy, and then you got the you know, the guy wearing the skinny jeans or whatever. You know, like I feel like that whole thing with comics. It's like you look at the art from the 90s and now. I went to a comic book shop. This is probably like a year and a half ago. Shoot, this is probably like 2 years ago. I literally was looking around for. I used to go to this comic shop like 20 years ago. And as a kid, I didn't have enough money to buy all the stuff I wanted.
This is good.
But I go to this comic shop now, and it's like I'm looking for 30 minutes just to buy one freaking comic, and like nothing is leaping off the stand at me saying like,
there's just a bunch of toilet paper up there, man.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of toilets, like nothing. And you know those stories don't matter because they don't care about them. Remember, Superman isn't Superman anymore. He's just a brand. You know, Batman.
That's what the thing was with like the Superman thing. Like, everyone was like, it's not that Superman's gay, it's his son. And I'm like, he's Superman. Like, Superman. He's wearing the S.
Yeah,
like,
he's literally like,
one.
and that's what they're calling him now because he's replaced basically Clark.
He's replaced Clark, and he's Superman.
He's
so
literally
that's Superman. Yeah,
that's why they did it. They wanted their rainbow S so fucking bad that's why they did it. They're making books for people that don't fucking read them. And,
no, they don't read it. Nobody's buying.
Nobody's reading that shit. I think the sales went down even further. Looking at what happened with the John Kent shit. And you know, we got people jumping ship from DC. Like, I can't do this shit no more. Like, that company is dead, bro. Like, so I just say let it die. I mean, it's fun to make videos about them. I make fun of them all the time, but it's also inspiring because I look at like these guys got a bunch of talentless hacks working for them. They've taken control over that company, and they're just churning out just retarded shit over and over and over. It's like Marvel makes a mistake, and DC comes back and say, we're going to do the same thing. Marvel now does all new, all different, just dog shit. DC says, shit, fuck it, we're going to do the same thing, future state, where we just tokenize all these other characters. We've got non-binary Flash and all kinds of black Batman, and we got all this other shit nobody asked for because it worked well for Marvel, and then they shit don't sell. Like, nobody's buying this shit, nobody's interested. And they're making books for people that don't read them because they're a bunch of activists. I interviewed the great Chuck Dixon. It's funny, he was speaking about the 90s. Great Chuck Dixon done a lot of Batman stuff, all of Robin stuff. He was on our show, and I love the term that he used to talk about these guys. He called them tourists. He was like, these guys are not comic book guys. They're not lifers or anything. They're tourists. There's something that it's hot now. They want in on it. And they're a bunch of like activists who are talentless, who are now unfortunately in control of a lot of characters that we grew up on and we know and love. And that's the perfect way to describe these guys. Is a bunch of talentless, they're tourists. They're not guys that actually like, they don't even like what the fuck it is that they're doing. They're just trying to make statements for screen grabs and headlines for I don't know, comic book review or whatever that's gonna put some shit out. And look at us, we got on the nobody's gonna buy this book, but hey,
right,
kids
but hey, we're on deadline.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Hey,
we're on deadline.
we're
on everybody's praising us. We're getting the retweets.
I think these people, I mean, maybe to some extent they're, I don't know, maybe they think, well, if we do get out there enough and we get enough publicity, then people will buy the book. But the reality is, it's like, I mean, it's like you were saying, the numbers are down for gay
I've
Superman.
told people this all the time. Like, this whole all publicity is good publicity is a nonsensical fucking statement that is not true. Anybody that works in business knows that bad publicity can fucking derail your entire fucking business.
Yeah, you know what else is bad? Like, don't hate on your own fans. Like, stop doing like blockchains and like, doing like weird shit like that. Like, stop going at your own fans that are actually questioning like what you're doing. Like,
they don't want to hear that because they're trying to appeal to people that don't read them. Like the people that's generally very critical of them are readers, are life. The people that just will go on with any,
because they have expectations.
Bingo. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They have expectations. People that they're appealing to. So on Twitter, Instagram, all these weirdos, they don't read books.
They don't care.
They don't care. They don't read. So they'll maybe retweet it. They may even cosplay the character, but they don't give a shit about that character. They don't care about that. That's not going to increase your sales. It's not going to increase the interest. Like what Chuck was saying was like, it's not like they made Tim Drake more interesting. No, he's just gay now.
No, he's just gay.
It's not like they made him interesting. This is obviously Chuck just wrote more fucking Robin than anybody. So he knows. He's like, it's not like they made him more interesting. No, it just
does that mean like Batman? Like all those theories about Batman, living with
apparently
this under, what does that do to the character for Batman?
They just did another one again with Wolverine again. They came out and said he's gay again or something. I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like
everybody's gonna be homosexual.
But see, the thing, it's the craziest thing to me is that it's not like we're like living in the 30s right now, and they're like, they're coming out as gay as like this.
Like this epic
taboo thing.
Huge. Like, no,
like
you're not doing it. You're not reinventing the wheel. And that's what Chuck was saying. It's like, dude, we had characters like North Star fucking years ago. You're not doing anything new. Like this has already been done, but these guys act as if they're doing something uber brave and stunning. By changing some character's sexuality. Meanwhile, the original gay, again, North Star has sat on the shelf for I don't know how long. Like it took them a while to bring. They brought him back. And what was it? It wasn't X Factor, was it? Or X4? No, it was X Factor, I think, when they brought him back recently. That was right when I basically stopped reading. And they bring him back in some cheesy, corny ass book where basically they got all the bisexual and gay characters in the same book. Because remember, just like black people in comics, they all got to
they all have to be in the same.
They all have to know each other. They all got to be in the same fucking book. So they're all together in this fucking piled up in this book. Got Dokken, you got who's now bisexual. In case people didn't know, that's Wolverine's like son, who is basically fucking bisexual. And he's hitting. He's bringing in. It's terrible. When I say this is one of the worst books, it's terrible. Dokken's hitting on fuck. He's like, and it's funny because Chuck is when I didn't think about it until they brought it up, where he talks about a lot of these current era LGBT characters are like predators, and I was like, that's literally how they treated Dokken in that X Factor book. That's literally how they treated him, where he's going around basically using his like, I can be with other dudes, and he's using them to try to coerce these dudes to get what it is that he. It's like this shit is like that's exactly how they treat him. That's kind of weird. But they're not reinventing the wheel. These guys think they're doing something brave and bold and important. They're not. It's a cheesy, corny thing that they do for a headline. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And that's why creating your own independent comics is the way. That's why I do enjoy some of the CG stuff going on. I do enjoy a lot of independent comic books. Fatal J just put one out with
Ninja Blast.
Ninja Blast. I still haven't gotten my copy, but
it's gonna take a little while longer for you.
I know, because freaking Mexico, man.
Yeah.
The postal service here is freaking atrocious.
That's one thing I learned when I was out there for a little bit. Yeah, it fucking sucked.
Wait, you were out here for a bit too?
I go to Mexico all the time, and I used to live down there. I was in Laredo for a little bit, but
oh, you were?
Yeah, like near the border. But yeah, we definitely it's a big like anarchist community of people that live like particularly like in Acapulco, that's what we call it in Acapulco, Mexico and shit like that out there. So yeah, I'm always every year I'm there. You know.
Well, if you ever come to Cancun, you got a friend over here now.
For sure,
so
for
we
sure.
gotta hang out, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking moistly, thank you so much for the 5. Says they try to destroy everything, then glow. They challenge you to make your own stuff. When you make your own stuff, they try to shut you down. Yes, but if you have your own platform like Eric does, and if you have, other people as friends like, Gary from Nerdrotic and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers,
we can beat them.
Yeah, we can beat them because we've got those numbers too. Like
we can do it.
They ain't
You're seeing what happened with like Let's Go Brandon stuff. We're just talking about that.
Yeah,
like that shows you that they can be defeated. They can be defeated in their own game. They don't got a monopoly on shit. They can try to suppress it all they want. He gets banned, and it's a Streisand effect basically, to where it shoots them up to number one on the list. They could be beat.
They want it. They're begging for you guys to come to them, right? There's thirst out there for alternatives because I mean, what's going on over there with comics, not just comics, like everything, like all the cultural stuff that we're talking
Gina
about.
Carano's doing with Daily Wire.
All of it. I mean, we're winning that battle, man.
And I think too the fact that like think about it in terms of. Like EVS is doing it. He's just like, I mean, what do you want? Like, if you're working in comics, do you want to be making DC or Marvel money, or do you want to be making freaking EVS money?
Hey, that's how I lure two guys over basically to what it is that I'm doing. That's the former DC guy. I pay you better, and you don't have to work for a hack. I'll pay you better. So yeah, like EVS
and I'll give you like creative freedom, so you don't have to fucking go to your editor and it's like, nah, gayer, gayer.
Yeah. Exactly.
200 Watt Studios, thank you so much for the $2. Wolverine's best there ever was a triple pen trader. God damn it, 200 Watt Studios. Well, Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you tonight. Thank you for coming to hang out, and I hope we do it again soon. I'm a big fan, so keep up the good work, with just all your stuff, keep speaking truth, because we need more voices like yours. And I know you probably get a lot of hate mail and stuff like that, so I'm sure knowing that you are also appreciated is something that that should balance things out. So you are appreciated, and I really, really enjoyed talking to you tonight.
Thank you. This is fun. This is absolutely fun. You guys have been killing it with everything it is that both of you guys and everything that you're doing. I keep tabs on it. So again, I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been fun.
Of course. Thank you so much.
It's here. Can I say something, Nina?
Of
course.
Can I say something you want to go full screen?
No. But no, I was just gonna say, Eric, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time. I know busy is not even, I think, a fair word to define what you are. So you're busier than busy, and we just appreciate you taking the time out. Man. It really means a lot to us, man. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Last question, Eric. Are you planning on going as anything for Halloween?
No, it's funny because we do the Mario Kart shit on Sunday.
Yes, I do.
I could have found a way to dress as Roy, then I would have did it. The character that I play with, I would have did it for sure. But I don't.
Oh, really?
He's one of the more obscure, like Koopa, so it's hard.
Dude,
to do.
That one time you were like, you blew up and you're like, this motherfucking game. I lost my shit because we call it that all the time here, and I used to work for Nintendo, so I know how. I know, like, I've heard all the stuff, right? Like, and when you started calling it that, I died, because that's what my husband calls it too, like every time. And I was like, this is hilarious, because that's what Eric July calls it. And I lose my shit every time I watch you lose.
Yeah. So maybe I'll do that if somebody figure that out. But I have a Bane mask that I got to troll people that will try to require me to wear a mask. So I may wear that.
Ooh,
Nice.
that's good
Yeah.
too. Did you see my costume?
Mm-mm.
You haven't seen it? Okay, let me show you one picture before we go.
Yeah.
Because I did Laura Croft.
Oh, sick.
Classic.
Classic.
I was planning on dressing as her tonight, and then I was like, maybe I won't do that because I did it for
sick.
Toxic Femme.
Sick.
And
nice.
there was a lot of stuff to cover.
Oh,
there's
sick.
more coming from this photo shoot, but
Nice.
These
Are those grenades?
Yes, they are.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
are.
I like it. That's sick.
So-
Nailed it.
Yeah,
Really
that's
good.
me as Lara Croft, everybody. And you can see me as Lara Croft on Friday's Infinite Hope. I will be dressed as Lara Croft. I will do the good news as Lara Croft. And I got my little pistols and everything. So
Nice.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Speaking of which, Eric, that's my other show that I do. On Fridays, I do Good News, Infinite Hope, because I try to balance the world out with some positive energy, because we talk about all the crazy shit that's going on in the world on Wednesdays. So I balance it out on Fridays. So if you ever are like, man, I need some good news,
Okay.
come to my channel.
Gotcha.
That's what I do here.
Roger that.
200 Watt Studios, thank you so much for the 5, says Eric, Nina, John, chat, Jack show tomorrow on Cecil's channel, Nadine Witten, and more. Gonna be a stream to see and remember. My God, that is gonna be a gong show probably. Do you ever watch the Jack show?
Yeah, every now and then I watch Anna. Yeah.
There you go. So wow, Nadine and Witten, that's gonna be a crazy show. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. John, do you got anything coming up?
Probably another video or two coming out tomorrow, as usual. So yeah,
Okay.
Tune in. Yeah. Once
in.
again, Eric, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Man. Thank you.
Subscribe.
Eric,
subscribe. Everyone, subscribe.
Did you want to plug anything? Do you want?
No, I mean y'all good. I mean they got all the links and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure. So that's fine. Y'all know where to find me on YoungRippa59. It's there. You know, every day we.
He's also on the Geeks and Gamers Crew stuff. So Tuesdays he's on the Geeks
Monday
and
night.
Gamers
Yeah,
live stream.
Tuesday night main event. You can catch our show and obviously Sunday nights Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, which I just bought a Switch recently.
Oh, nice.
So
you can get in.
I would like an invite to one of
there
those.
There we go.
one of
Yeah,
these days.
yeah. Let's have you on. That'd be
Yes,
fun.
definitely.
Very fun.
Tell Jeremy.
I will.
I would like an invite.
I will.
All right, cool. Okay, everybody, have a good night. We will be back next Wednesday with more Infinite Talk. We're out. Bye.